Yin Shi is a top-notch trader. She assisted her boyfriend to reach the peak of his career. She is her boyfriend's right-hand woman and has made great contributions to the company. However, she was betrayed and used by her boyfriend. Even her only relative, her grandfather, was implicated. Years of deep affection, companionship, and selfless dedication were no match for the charming little third party. When she finally saw through the scumbag's fickleness, she only wanted to make amends. However, life is unpredictable. When she woke up again, she had been reborn as Cold Yunqi, the top-tier heiress of the capital. Her father holds a high position, her mother manages a financial group, and her grandfather is a legend in the capital. As the beloved Cold Yunqi, she is determined to make her mark in the business world and take revenge on the scumbag. Unexpectedly, the powerful, arrogant, and handsome mysterious tycoon Xiao Yuma suddenly appears before her. He favors and dotes on her, becoming a double-standard monster for her sake. Cold Yunqi calmly looks at the scumbag who betrayed her in her previous life. Even if you're a god in the business world, you're only fit to be trampled under my feet. After her rebirth, how will she avenge her grandfather, slap the face of the scumbag, and dominate the upper class? One day, she was reborn into the top-tier family of the capital. The only daughter, her father holds a high position, her mother leads a financial group, and her grandfather is a legend in the capital. As the beloved Cold Yunqi, she calmly looks at her ex-boyfriend who betrayed her in her previous life. You were so proud of Xiao Group, weren't you? I will completely crush you in the field you excel at. In the office building, Xia Xiaodian stands pale-faced at the door of Xiao Group CEO office. Peering through the door crack, she sees a man and a woman embracing tightly. The atmosphere is tense. Through the door, the woman's coquettish voice comes intermittently. Third young master Xia, Yuan's company is about to declare bankruptcy. Xia Xiaodian is your girlfriend. Third young master is really heartless. Xia Xiaodian feels ice-cold all over. Yuan's is her grandfather's company. The man coldly says, after taking over Yuan's, she's of no use, just a plaything. This emotionless sentence explodes in Xia Xiaoyan's mind repeatedly. He dares to use me. Xia Xiaodian can no longer control herself. She grabs a fire extinguisher and with a loud bang, smashes the door open. Then she sprays it at the two of them. Xiao Ran, you think you can acquire my grandfather's company? You really think that because I helped you reach this position, you have the power to cover the sky with one hand? At this moment, the man is in a miserable state, constantly shouting, "Quick assistance, security, arrest her!" Xia Xiaodian stares directly at Xiao Ran, then violently throws the fire extinguisher at him. She glances at the two of them as if looking at something filthy, then turns away her gaze, no longer bothering to look at you. Then she turns around without any lingering attachment. I will not let you succeed. After taking a few steps, Xia Xiaodian receives a phone call saying her grandfather is standing on the rooftop. Xia Xiaodian can't care about anything else. She runs wildly while trying to call her grandfather, but the phone remains unanswered. She runs down frantically, sprinting madly, such a long distance, and she doesn't even pause to catch her breath. She runs to the street opposite the company. A large crowd has gathered, pointing at the rooftop. Xia Xiaodian looks up and sees a figure vaguely standing on the roof under the lights. Her heart skips a beat. At this moment, a sharp voice suddenly reaches Xia Xiaoyan's ears. What a sin! At such an old age, wanted to jump off the building. What could be so unbearable? The next moment, she watches helplessly as her elderly grandfather leaps from the 66th floor of the building, falling from the clouds. Tears instantly fall from Xia Xiaoyan's eyes. Her hoarse voice is terrifyingly hollow. She hurriedly runs towards the company entrance. At this moment, a car rushes over. It directly hits Xia Xiaodian. In the VIP hospital room, a piercing scream comes from the girl's mouth. The people around her are startled. She reaches out to hold her, gently caressing Yunqi in her arms. Don't be afraid, Mom's here. On this well-maintained face, without a single wrinkle, there's a mix of shock, fear, and joy in her eyes. You scared Mom to death. How did you fall into the swimming pool? If something had happened to you, what would Mom do? Xiaoyan's expression is somewhat dazed. She hasn't fully come to her senses and is still very confused about everything around her. Where is this? This is Capital Hospital. Mom found the best doctors for you. You'll be fine for sure. The hospital room door suddenly opens, and a doctor in a white coat walks in. He immediately checks various indicators of the woman. Cold Yunqi, you're out of danger now. Then he hands out the medical record card. Just sign here, and you can be discharged. She realizes that being able to stay in a VIP room at Capital Hospital means something. That must be the Cold family, a top-tier family in the capital. They have an arrogant, only daughter called Cold Yunchi. Her father holds a high position in foreign affairs, and her mother is an executive director of her maiden family's Zhang Corporation. The Cold family's power is only slightly inferior to the capital's #1 family, the Xiao family. I've actually been reborn as the only daughter of the Cold family. Xiao Xiaodian can hardly imagine it, while Xiaodian, no, now it should be Cold Yunchi, is silently processing this information. The doctor concludes the patient suffered some brain damage due to extreme lack of oxygen after falling into the water. There will be some after effects, but don't worry too much. With proper care, she will recover. Zhang Min is both heartbroken that her daughter has suffered greatly and relieved that she's alive. Just then, there's a knock on the door. A handsome and imposing man smoothly opens the door. "Excuse me, Yunchi. Are you all right? I heard you fell into the water and were hospitalized, so I came to visit immediately." Hearing this, the woman on the hospital bed turns to look. That all-too-familiar face appears unexpectedly before her eyes. "I didn't expect we'd meet again so soon. Reborn, I've transmigrated into this arrogant, rich second generation. This rebirth comes with the backing of two powerful families, Cold and Zhang. I'm like a newbie who started the game with cheats enabled." The scumbag's all-too-familiar face appears unexpectedly before her eyes. Cold Yunchi's chest heaves. Zhangmin quickly pats her hand, reassuringly. "Oh, it's Xiao Ran who came specially to visit. Mother, Annie, you're too kind. Grandfather and I are both very concerned about Yunchi. How is old Mr. Zhao's health?" Xiao Ran answers very well, while placing the flowers he brought on the bedside table. Seeing her daughter not speaking, Zhang Min is a bit surprised. "What's wrong, darling? Don't you recognize Brother Xiao Ran? Last time you visited his house, Grandfather Xiao even gave you a jade bracelet." There's always give and take between wealthy families. Xiao Ran wouldn't offer kindness without reason. Old Mr. Xiao is even more astute. The Xiao family wants to form an alliance through marriage with the Cold family. "You're dreaming." Pulling back her thoughts, Cold Yunchi suddenly looks up. "Mom, seeing Brother Xiao Ran reminds me of the car accident involving his girlfriend." Xiao Ran's expression suddenly changes. "How do you know?" His sharp gaze scrutinizes her, as if taking in every subtle expression on her face. Cold Yunchi blinks, feigning innocence as she looks at him. "I saw it in the news on my phone. It said the person was hit so badly they were unrecognizable, and her grandfather's body from jumping off a building was lying nearby. It's so scary." Xiao Ran's entire demeanor darkens. He coldly questions which platform she saw this on. On the day of the incident, he had already contacted mainstream media. How did it still leak out? Cold Yunchi's face shows fear, as if scared by Xiao Ran, and she unconsciously leans closer to Zhang Min. Zhang Min's expression immediately sours. She swats away the man's hand. "I only have this one precious daughter, pampered and spoiled. I didn't expect Xiao Ran to be like this. Yunchi just woke up, don't scare her." "Mom, don't blame Brother Xiao Ran. I shouldn't have brought up his painful memories." She then apologizes to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran suddenly realizes he can't antagonize the Cold family at this time, so he doesn't pursue the matter further. But he wonders how much she actually knows about the car accident. At this moment, there's suddenly another knock at the door. A beautiful, alluring woman pushes open the door, saying there's an issue at the company and asking the young master to return. Cold Yunchi glances at this woman with a seductive face. This is the secretary who's having an affair with Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran politely says goodbye before leaving. The hospital room becomes quiet again. Cold Yunchi thinks for a moment. It's impossible to bring down the Xiao group alone. To avenge her grandfather, she must have help. In her memories, her family always wanted the original owner to inherit the business, but she refused. Returning to her thoughts, she tentatively asks her mother about taking over the company. When Zhang Min hears her suddenly mention the company, she immediately looks happy. Then she looks doubtful. "You always refused before. Why the change of heart today?" "I don't want to worry Mom anymore." Zhang Min, who has always spoiled her daughter without principle, is delighted to hear this. "When you're discharged, we'll hold a banquet to formally introduce you to those figures in the business world." Zhang Min smiles and gently strokes her cheek, looking tender. "Just focus on getting better for now. Don't worry about anything. The Cold and Zhang families will pave a smooth road for you." Cold Yunchi's breath hitches. Then Cold Yunchi slowly grits her teeth, her eyes determined. "Xiao Ran, you're proud of Xiao Group, aren't you? I'll utterly defeat you in the field you excel at." Soon, Yunqi finally welcomes her discharge day. Zhang Min specifically set the banquet on her birthday. All the important figures have been invited to attend the banquet. At this time, the lights shine on the stairs. Everyone turns to look towards the staircase. They see cold Yunqi, wearing a custom-made gown, slowly descending from the second floor. Xiao Ran, as the current helmsman of Xiao Group, is naturally among the invited guests. At this moment, he looks up at her intently as she takes each step down the stairs. The spoiled rich daughter suddenly had a change of heart and wants to do business. Who knows what she's up to? At this time, many people jealously comment, "She's really beautiful. Too bad, she's an uneducated vase. She'll probably be married off in a couple of years. With her spoiled personality, who would dare to marry her?" As people are still discussing, Zhang Min taps her wine glass. "Welcome, esteemed guests, to my daughter Yunqi's birthday party. Furthermore, I'm proud to announce that Yunqi will soon be joining Zhang Group. I ask all colleagues to please take good care of my daughter." The banquet erupts in commotion. The Cold and Zhang families must be crazy, relying on this brainless beauty. The banquet continues. Seeing her daughter bored, Zhang Min takes her outside to watch the cherry blossom performance. Suddenly, a roaring sound is heard. It turns out her grandfather had a sports car delivered for her. Just as everyone is envious, another luxury car pulls up. The car door opens. Then, a tall and handsome man wearing a custom-tailored suit steps out of the car. Immediately, there's another commotion. Young Master Qiao is here. At the same time, cold Yunqi's eyes widen. Her whole body freezes. How can someone be so handsome? The Tian family was used by that scumbag, causing her grandfather to jump to his death. She also died in an accident. Reborn, she's become this pampered, rich daughter. On the second day of her rebirth, she already gave that scumbag a harsh slap in the face. Even for a birthday, her cousin not only set off fireworks throughout the event, but her grandfather also gifted her a globally limited edition sports car. She's even addicted to being pampered by the heir of the top wealthy family. He is the head of the Qiao family, who stands above all other wealthy families. Qiao, you never thought that being reborn would allow such a figure to attend her birthday party. Zhang Min patted her, signaling her not to be nervous. Because grandfather couldn't come back from a meeting, he specially invited his chess friend, young Master Qiao, to support her. Cold Yunqi's impression of how the Cold family spoils their daughter was once again refreshed. She had no time to think further. Taking a deep breath, she walked towards Xiao Yuma. Zhang Min spoke first. "Thank you, young Master Qiao, for attending my daughter's birthday party. You're too kind, madam." He slightly turned his head, his brows carrying a faint look of appraisal as he gazed at her. "Happy birthday, Miss Cold." His voice was magnetic with a hint of huskiness. He even handed over an exquisitely wrapped gift box. Cold Yunqi calmly accepted the gift box, smiled, and looked up, saying thank you. "I hope you enjoy yourself tonight." Everyone at the scene was astonished. The Cold family's only daughter stood in front of Qiao Yuma, calm and composed, with elegant manners. She seemed completely different from the previously arrogant and ignorant girl, as if they weren't the same person at all. But at this moment, Qiao Yuma paid no attention to the prying eyes around him, only gazing deeply at Cold Yunqi. Meanwhile, Xiao Ran was lost in thought. Xiao Yuma actually showed up to celebrate Cold Yunqi's birthday. This woman is indeed valuable. At this time, the band in the banquet hall began to play. The melodious waltz slowly rose. However, everyone looked towards Cold Yunqi's direction with subtle expressions. And at this moment, she watched as Xiao Ran walk towards her. He slowly extended his right hand and said, "May I have this dance?" A pair of pitch-black eyes, filled with curiosity, fell directly on her face. The surrounding crowd had already started to discuss. Isn't young Master Xiao someone who never dances at social events? Cold Yunqi looked at the hand extended before her and sneered mockingly. "Xiao Ran, you caused my death. My grandfather's drowning due to an affair. Now you want to cling to the Cold family's daughter." She had originally planned to embarrass him during the dance, but unexpectedly, the extended hand was suddenly grasped by another hand. The air seemed to suddenly freeze. Cold Yunqi was stunned. Even the usually composed Xiao Ran now showed a rare expression of surprise on his face. Xiao Yuma didn't even look at Xiao Ran standing nearby. He directly took Cold Yunqi's hand and gently pulled. With the momentum, Cold Yunqi's entire body leaned towards him. She instinctively looked up into his eyes. This man, illuminated by the crystal chandelier, as if painted by a divine brush, smiled faintly. "I forgot to ask earlier, Would you like to dance the first opening dance with me? At this moment, Cold Yunqi's heart skipped a beat. Then she turned her head to look at the sullen Xiao Ran nearby. Even if I can't teach you a lesson today, it's not bad to annoy you a bit. The frozen air around them seemed to suddenly rush into their lungs, instantly boiling over. Compared to young Master Xiao, Xiao Ran wasn't worth mentioning. The next second, Cold Yunqi followed Xiao Yuma's lead and glided onto the dance floor. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on Cold Yunqi and Xiao Yuma. Beautiful melody, enchanting dance steps, the two seemed naturally in sync. Standing on the side, Xiao Ran slowly lowered his eyes. Cold Yunqi actually dared to stand him up in front of so many people. His eyes were so deep you couldn't see the bottom, while his hands were clenched so tight the veins were bulging. On the dance floor, Xiao Yuma's stern face clearly showed a hint of detachment, yet he was now staring fixedly at her. You don't seem surprised by my invitation. Cold Yunqi's face lifted in a confident smile. I assume it's at my grandfather's request. The man complimented her again on her dancing skills. The reason old Gung entrusted me was because you couldn't dance. Cold Yunqi was shocked by his words. She stumbled and stepped on the man's foot. She quickly apologized. Then, with a subtle smile, she said, I specially requested a teacher to crash teach me tonight. I hope young Master Qiao doesn't mind. Qiao Yuma gave her a meaningful look and nodded ambiguously. Just as Qiao Yuma wanted to probe further, the music gradually stopped. The opening waltz had unknowingly come to an end. Cold Yunqi's smooth social skills immediately elicited warm applause from the surroundings. Many celebrities took the opportunity to approach, surrounding the two of them. Everyone wanted to use this chance to exchange a few words with Qiao Yuma. However, Qiao Yuma only glanced lightly at the crowd, then slightly raised his lips and pointed at Cold Yunqi. Everyone seems to have forgotten that Miss Cold is the host of today's event. In that instant, Cold Yunqi unsurprisingly became the center of attention. Hearing Qiao Yuma's words, Cold Yunqi couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. One sentence can make me the real focus. This is the weight of a big shot. The next second, her eyes met everyone's surprised gazes. Thank you all for attending tonight's party. In the past, I was playful and ignorant, wasting a lot of time. From now on, as I learn about business, I hope everyone can guide me. Almost instantly, everyone keenly sensed the change in the wind. One by one, guests immediately began enthusiastically conversing with Cold Yunqi. At this moment, she had clearly become the most eye-catching focus of the entire venue. Their side was extraordinarily lively. In comparison, the atmosphere around Xiao Ran was frighteningly low. Young master, don't be angry. Cold Yunqi is just a fool who only knows how to spend money and bully people. Don't mind her. He had never been treated like this before. Xiao Ran felt he had lost face at this moment, so he ignored the two and grabbed 2 glasses of wine. He walked straight towards Cold Yunqi. Sister Yunqi, would you do me the honor? In her previous life, she was a top fund manager because she misplaced her feelings. She witnessed the loss of her loved ones. She was also unfortunate. In this life, she was reborn as this wealthy heiress. She even became addicted to being pampered by the heir of the top wealthy family. On the second day of her rebirth, she even tore apart the scumbag. Cold Yunqi smiled brightly. Brother Xiao Ran, do you need something from me? Xiao Ran looked at her with deep eyes, his expression growing heavier. Are you still angry? You won't even drink the toast I offer. The surrounding guests were becoming restless. Their gazes became increasingly direct as they looked in this direction. Especially those young ladies who had been holding back their anger now showed excited expressions. Cold Yunqi's tail was raised to the sky. Even though young Master Qiao was supporting her, she shouldn't disrespect young Master Xiao like this. Young Master Xiao had been gentlemanly enough today. What was Cold Yunqi playing at? Refusing a toast. Is she prepared to drink a forfeit? The atmosphere that had just eased suddenly plunged into ice, immediately becoming tense again. Even Xiao Yuma, who was taking a phone call at a distance, sensed the strange atmosphere and looked back towards Cold Yunqi. Facing everyone's subtle gazes, Cold Yunqi remained composed. Of course not, she said, naturally taking the red wine he offered. Doctor sure said I've just recovered from a serious illness and shouldn't drink alcohol. Xiao Ran, even if he was angry about being rejected earlier, couldn't possibly force someone who had just recovered from illness to drink in public. Indeed, Xiao Ran let out a light sigh. I'm sorry. I didn't consider your recent recovery. It was thoughtless of me. Previously, she would follow him around with an eager face, constantly talking about wanting to be his girlfriend. But in just a short week, the change was so drastic. Was she playing hard to get or using Xiao Yuma to stimulate his pride? Could it be because of the incident with Xia Xiaodian? About what you said in the hospital last time, I've looked into it. Indeed, two small media outlets created sensational news for attention. At that time, I lost my composure and scared your Aunt Jean. Also, I don't have a girlfriend. Hearing this, cold Lynchie scoffed coldly in her heart. The mockery in her eyes disappeared in an instant. Stop pretending, Brother Xiao Ran. Seeing Xiao Ran's restrained appearance, Cold Yunqi seemed oblivious to his true feelings and deliberately added, I've long heard about your love story with Sister Xia. Everyone knows you truly loved her. This person always portrayed a gentlemanly demeanor in public. Today, I'll tear off your hypocritical mask. A complex expression flashed across her face. She slightly raised her voice so nearby people could hear clearly. A man like Brother Xiao Ran must be greatly affected by Sister Xia's passing. You must be grieving in your heart. As she spoke, she deliberately stepped back, almost announcing to everyone, Of course I have to distance myself from a man who belongs to another woman. Xiao Ran's face immediately darkened with embarrassment. He stared at her deeply, yet couldn't refute a single word Cold Yunqi said. At this moment, the onlookers began to whisper again. His ex-girlfriend just died, and he's already trying to hook up with the Cold family's daughter. He's been exposed. How shameless. Hearing the discussions, Cold Yunqi wore an expression of sympathy. Xiao Ran tightly gripped his wine glass, looking at the calm, Cold Yunqi. He forced a smile and said he had something to attend to before turning to leave. He feared if he stayed any longer, he might not resist the urge to strangle this woman. It's worth noting that Xiao Ran was a force to be reckoned with in the business world. The last person who could make him change color was long forgotten. Just as Cold Yunqi watched Xiao Ran leave, a voice suddenly came from behind her. You talked for so long. You used to have a good relationship with Xiao Ran. Seeing Xiao Ran's face turn green with anger, yet having to leave quietly, her mood was elated. Hearing the voice behind her, without thinking, she instinctively replied, Hey, who hasn't liked a jerk when they were young and ignorant? I was blind to have liked him before. Suddenly, she felt the man's voice was familiar. Cold Yunqi immediately froze on the spot. Oh no, I went too far. What did I just say? She turned around and met Xiao Yuma's deep, unfathomable eyes. Xiao Yuma looked at Cold Yunqi, standing there, her face almost showing a withdrawn expression. He smiled meaningfully. Xiao Yuma nodded, although he found her words childish. Seeing Cold Yunqi's face that seemed to wish she could rewind time. For some reason, he just wanted to tease her. So now you've regained your eyesight? Cold Yunqi, without thinking, immediately flattered him. Though it sounded exaggerated, it definitely wouldn't go wrong. The moment I saw young Master Qiao, I was stunned by his beauty. My eyes instantly recovered. Unexpectedly, Qiao Yuma's eyebrow slightly twitched. So, you mean you've taken a liking to me? Cold Yunqi was shocked, her eyes widening. The youngest and most outstanding heir in the Qiao family's history. Just his appearance at her birthday party today had shocked everyone. Did she want even more spotlight? Rushing to hit on him? Cold Yunqi felt that today wasn't her birthday, but rather a dance on her heart. However, just as she opened her mouth, before she could speak, the gentle birthday song slowly started. Zhangmin asked her to go cut the cake and make a wish. So Cold Yunqi excused herself from Xiao Yuma and went over there. Cold Yunqi instinctively clasped her hands together, but didn't close her eyes. Instead, she directly blew out the candles. Her clear eyes sparkled, as if the next second, the happiness in her eyes would overflow. Her eyes flashed with the purest satisfaction and joy. At that moment, Xiao Yuma suddenly felt curious. Could a birthday party really make her that happy? Cold's granddaughter was quite different from the rumors. Someone was playing with their phone out of boredom. Unexpectedly, a newly forwarded message with hundreds of thousands of shares, like a dark horse, burst into the trending list usually dominated by top celebrities from the entertainment industry. The title was particularly eye-catching. What kind of divine CP is this? Instantly crushing entertainment stars. Cold Yunqi curiously clicked on it. How familiar was this scene? So familiar she could recall it with her eyes closed. Wasn't this exactly how she looked 2 hours ago? standing by the luxury car, seeing Xiao Yuma off. Xiao Yuma had always been mysterious and low profile, rarely accepting media interviews. Even most wealthy families couldn't find a way to invite him. He rarely came to attend her birthday party, and now he was directly exposed on the trending list. Cold Yunqi immediately stood up from the bed, not knowing what to do yet. Her phone started vibrating frantically. She picked it up and saw almost everyone in the WeChat group was at ING her. When Cold Yunqi saw the last sentence, it clearly had a hint of drama, subtly accusing her of being fickle. Sister Cold Yunqi, I remember you used to like Xiao Ran. Suddenly changed your target? Where did you get this little wolf dog from? She opened her moments. It turned out to be her fake friend. In her memory, the two had often competed openly and secretly. This time she came to stir up trouble and sling mud again. Cold Yunqi let out a cold laugh and nimbly typed on her phone keyboard, at ING Chi Luoshan's sister. I know you've always been upset about not being chosen as the class beauty. Since your looks aren't great, working hard to become a talented woman is your only way out. Please think before you speak. She quickly sent out another message. Your entire Chi family's net worth combined isn't enough for his little finger. Today was my birthday party. This person was an honored guest invited by my family. Oh, sorry. I forgot you didn't receive an invitation, so you didn't know. Finally, if you don't understand, just ask. Who told you I like Xiao Ran? LOL. How can you believe everything you hear? Chi Luoshan was so angry she almost had a brain hemorrhage. She threw her phone onto the coffee table. Suddenly, she turned her head and looked at a seductive woman in the bar. Didn't you say she liked Xiao Ran? You deliberately tricked me. In the private room of the bar, the dim light shone on that woman's face. If Cold Yunqi were here, she would recognize at a glance that this person was Xiao Ran's seductive mistress. The woman looked panicked. I often see Miss Cold coming to find Director Xiao when I'm by his side. At this moment, Chi Luoshan thought of those few words Cold Yunqi had directly at her with. Her heart began to sink continuously. She had a feeling that Cold Yunqi could speak so confidently about this man. His background must be extraordinary. If she had really offended someone with a deep background, so she stood up and told the woman, I have to go back, then hurriedly left the private room. As Chi Luoshan left, Sun Yan's lowered eyelids hid eyes full of resentment. She had wanted to use Chi Luoshan to stir up trouble, but didn't expect her to be so cowardly, scared off by just a few words from Cold Yunqi and fleeing in panic. When Chi Luoshan rushed back home, she saw her mother was still awake. She asked her if she knew this man, showing her mother the photo from the trending list. Is this some celebrity? Why are you asking about this? Cold Yunqi said her family had an important guest tonight. I don't recognize him, so I wanted to ask you. At this time, Mr. Chi walked towards them. An important guest of the Cold family? Let me see. How many times have I told you not to provoke Cold Yunqi lightly? Not only does Cold Jiao protect her, but the Zhang family also cherishes her. Tonight's birthday party was such a big event. What do you think it was for? They're paving the way for her. He finished speaking before reaching out to take the phone. Chi Luoshan heard this and immediately became angry. Why am I not as good as her? Our family isn't bad either. She's just petty for not inviting our family. Am I wrong to be angry? Mr. Chi's face turned green with anger, just about to scold her when Mrs. Chi quickly came over to smooth things over. Mr. Chi frowned and also looked at it carefully. He indeed couldn't recall this figure either. Actually, it wasn't that the Chi couple's memory was faulty, but that Xiao Yuma was truly too mysterious and low profile. He rarely appeared in public, let alone expose his appearance. When Chi Luoshan heard that even her father didn't recognize him, she immediately exploded. How dare they lie to me? And they even dare to criticize me. The entire Chi family combined isn't worth one of his fingers. Mr. Chi was originally prepared to scold her, but after hearing the last sentence, his face also darkened. Cold Yunqi saying those words wasn't just lying, but deliberately stepping on him. Seeing that her father was also quite angry, Chi Luoshan of the Chi family lost all restraint and immediately prepared to teach Cold Yunqi a lesson. At 1 a.m., Xiao Yuma's special assistant approached him with a hesitant look. Young Master Xiao, do we need to handle this trending topic? Luo Jin originally hadn't planned to bother him with such trivial online matters. But tonight, he had personally witnessed young Master Qiao's unique treatment of this Miss Cold. After much consideration, he decided to let the boss know about it. Xiao Yuma lowered his eyes to look at the phone. The page showed the trending topic of Cold Yunqi and him whispering intimately. The top pinned comment was Chi Luoshan's mocking content, directly mentioning Cold Yunqi by name. Almost instantly after she posted it, her fans began commenting frantically. Many fans even followed this Weibo post to attack Cold Yunchi's Weibo account, then frantically liked and left various taunting comments until the rumor was pinned at the top. Xiao Yuma's eyes turned cold as he read the pinned comment word by word. His pitch-black eyes were unfathomable. Looking at the name of that verified user, he asked, "Which one is Chi Group?" "It's the Chi Group that has always wanted to participate in our company's bidding, but their qualifications weren't good enough. They've always been left behind as a companion runner. The boss has been trying to invite you to dinner, but I've always declined on your behalf. Indeed, stupidity is hereditary. The father is incompetent, and the daughter has brain issues. So idle that she can't help but seek attention online at midnight. Let's make this family completely idle then." Although Luo Jin knew the boss was unusual towards Cold Yunchi, he was still shocked by these words. The boss meant to directly have the Chi family blacklisted. "I'll take care of it right away." But there was another matter that concerned him more, so he tentatively asked the boss, "Should we take down the trending topic?" "No need." Xiao Yuma's index finger lightly tapped the screen. After saving the photo for a long time, he casually dropped this sentence. The photo was taken quite nicely. The woman was woken up by a phone call from her roommate. "How are you still sleeping? Chi Luoshan is bad-mouthing you in the group chat. It's getting out of hand. Haven't you seen it? This morning, she even shared that post about you keeping a toy boy to our class group chat." Hearing this, Cold Yunchi was both amused and angered. She had seen people seeking death, but never someone so stupid, daring to be a suicide squad. "Don't worry, I'll teach her a lesson." Cold Yunchi first logged into Weibo. Sure enough, her account's private messages had exploded. She directly ignored these private messages. She switched to check the latest trends on the hot search. She just discovered that her photo with Xiao Yuma had directly topped the list. The only thought in her mind was, did Xiao Group's PR department collectively resign last night? How could they allow such exposure of their boss's photo? All night in the class group chat, Chi Luoshan had been frantically tagging her, demanding she come out and respond. Cold Yunchi sneered, publicly humiliating the Xiao family heir. Where did she get the courage? This was her own death wish. No one else to blame. Just wait and see your family's stock hit the limit down. Chi Luoshan had been setting the tone in the group chat since early morning. The face slapping she received from Cold Yunchi last night, she was determined to return it all today. The next second, she was directly tagged by the class monitor. "Quick, go check. Your family's stock is in free fall." At this moment, Chi Luoshan was in complete panic. She thought, impossible. She was about to switch pages to check the stock. But just then, with a bang, the door was pushed open from outside, revealing her father's face full of anger. "You've done it now!" Chi Gaosheng glared at her fiercely, looking like he might strike at any moment. Chi Luoshan was so scared she almost lost her soul. From childhood to now, she had never seen her father so furious. Her first reaction was to call for backup, shouting for her mother. Mrs. Chi firmly held back her husband. "Why are you getting angry with her? How old is she? It's just children quarreling. Explain it and it'll be over." Chi Gaosheng looked at his wife in disbelief. "He's been spoiled by you. As soon as the market opened today, none of our company's partners could be reached by phone. I called Mr. Wang, who attended Cold Mingqi's birthday party. He said the man in the photo is Xiao Yuma. The Xiao family could crush me with one finger." Chi Gaosheng, thinking of what his daughter said on Weibo last night, now felt chills down his spine. Chi Luoshan was truly guessing blindly this time. She really didn't know who Xiao Yuma was, but judging by her father's expression, their family's bankruptcy was just a matter of someone's whim. Seeing her daughter still in a daze, Mrs. Chi angrily grabbed her arm. "Hurry up and go apologize to Cold Mingqi." Chi Gaosheng's chest heaved. With the situation blown up this big, just sending the kid to apologize wouldn't be enough. Forget about the Qiao family. They might not even get past the Cold family. Our whole family will go to the Cold house. While Cold Yunchi and her mother Zhang Min were having breakfast in the living room, the butler approached, looking down at Cold Yunchi, saying the Chi family, all three of them, say they want to apologize to you. They're waiting at the door now. Zhang Min looked at Cold Yunchi curiously. Finding it troublesome to explain, Cold Yunchi simply opened her phone, letting her see the photo and the top trending headlines first. Then she pointed to Chi Luoshan's reply still pinned at the top below. Zhang Min's face immediately turned cold. She then turned to the butler and told him to let them in. When Chi Luoshan saw the interior of the Cold residence, She had always thought she wasn't too different from cold Yunchi. It wasn't until she came to the cold house that she realized how naive she had been before. After all, the truly powerful were never just rich people, but the Cold family's influence, which our Chi family couldn't compare to. The three of them nervously came to the reception room and waited for an hour. Only then did Cold Yunchi have the butler bring them to see her. When Chi Luoshan saw Cold Yunchi leisurely sipping coffee, she was completely stunned. Why did it feel like in just a few short weeks, this person had changed completely from the inside out? At this moment, Mrs. Chi pulled Chi Luoshan, who was standing to the side, over and pressed her head down to bow to Cold Yunchi in apology. She said that last night Luoshan had been drinking and her mind was muddled, causing her to say nonsense online. We've already scolded her, so we brought her here to apologize to you. Considering you've been classmates for 4 years, please forgive her this once. We promise this will never happen again. Chi Luoshan's face was flushed with anger and humiliation. As far as she could remember, she had never suffered such humiliation. But at this moment, she gritted her teeth and didn't dare to resist. Pressed down by her own mother, she obediently bowed and apologized to Cold Mingchi. Enduring the humiliation, she apologized word by word. She clearly understood the gap between her and Cold Yunchi. Cold Yunchi watched this scene with amusement. Annie, Chi Luoshan and I are classmates. Of course I wouldn't intentionally target her. As you said, last night she drank too much and got carried away. Cold Yunchi smiled, seemingly very understanding. However, she suddenly turned the tables. But this morning, she was still cursing at me in our class WeChat group. Could it be that after a night, she's still not sober from her hangover? Chi Luoshan's heart skipped a beat, remembering her frantic mentions of Cold Yunchi in the university classmates group this morning. Her words frantically tagging Cold Yunchi. At this point, Chi Gaosheng was so angry that he immediately raised his right hand high, about to slap Luoshan's face in front of Cold Yunchi. Chi Luoshan was so scared that she instinctively shrank back behind Mrs. Chi. At this moment, a gentle voice came. Mr. Chi, why are you coming to our house early in the morning to discipline your daughter? Zhang Min stood at the foot of the stairs, speaking softly, stopping this farce. Cold Yunchi stood up with a smile and affectionately called out, Mom. Chi Gaosheng immediately lowered his arm awkwardly, looking embarrassed. Zhang Min's face now showed no smile. She coldly looked at the family of three. I know everything your daughter said online yesterday. Since she looks down on Yunchi so much, there's no need for you to force her to apologize. An apology is meaningless. This was clearly a dismissal. The butler standing nearby immediately walked over. It's getting late, and the young miss and madam have matters to attend to soon. Chi Luoshan immediately moved in front of Cold Yunchi. I really made a mistake. I was just jealous of you, and then I was instigated. It was Xiao Rant's female secretary who deliberately led me on. As if grasping at the last straw, Chi Luoshan suddenly became agitated. It was all her instigation that made me say those nonsensical things. Cold Yunchi's eyes turned cold. You mean Sun Yin? How would I know? Isn't this just your excuse to push the blame onto someone else? Chi Luoshan indicated that he could take her to confront Xiao Shi and Sun Yin in person. Reborn once, the woman confidently led her fraud-configured bodyguards into the work floor she once knew best, just to watch a green tea bitch tear apart another green tea bitch. At this moment, Sun Yin was talking to a colleague with a folder in hand. Suddenly, she heard the sound of high heels clicking at the door. Turning her head, she saw Cold Yunchi and Chi Luoshan, followed by 2 black-clad bodyguards. Sun Yan's expression froze, her mind unable to process the situation. She instinctively put on a welcoming smile. Unexpectedly, Chi Luoshan rushed over. With a loud slap, he struck her face, the sound echoing through the entire office. You bitch, how dare you scheme against me? Chi Luoshan looked like he wanted to tear her to pieces. Sun Yin was completely stunned by the slap. She looked at Chi Luoshan in disbelief, trembling as she stepped back, saying, Why did you hit me? Chi Luoshan now only wanted to prove in front of Cold Lingchi that everything last night was planned by this damned woman. Completely disregarding any sense of decorum, he said, What did you say about Cold Lingchi in front of me last night? Say it again now. Being slapped in the face at work, how could she ever face people again? So she put on an innocent expression, pretending not to know what Chi Luoshan was talking about. You dare to say it, but not own up to it? Last night you deliberately told me that Cold Yunchi had a close relationship with your chairman. Just last night, Chi Luoshan had fearlessly started a fight on Weibo. How could Cold Yunchi's attitude change 180 degrees overnight? Miss Cold and our chairman's families are old friends. Of course their relationship is close. I didn't say anything wrong. At this moment, Xiao Ran walked in with a frown. What he saw was Sun Yin with teary eyes covering her cheek, and an enraged Qi Luoshan standing beside her. "What are you doing here?" Sun Yin, as if finding a lifeline, immediately sobbed and called out, "Chairman Xiao, Miss Qi misunderstood me for some reason and suddenly came to hit me." Seeing this scene, Cold Yunchi realized that Qi Luoshan was no match for Sun Yin. I underestimated this green tea bitch's skills before. Cold Yunchi calmly walked forward to greet him. Xiao Ran and Cold Yunchi's gazes met. "Why are you here?" Hearing this, Qi Luoshan quickly replied, "We came for a confrontation. Last night, Sun Yin deliberately spread rumors about you and Cold Yunchi's relationship in front of me. She said you too." Qi Luoshan suddenly stopped. "Oh no. If I repeat what Sun Yin said, that Cold Yunchi has been pursuing Xiao Ran, I'll offend Cold Yunchi again in front of everyone." Seeing him suddenly stop, Xiao Ran became more exasperated and said, "What about me and Cold Yunchi?" Sun Yin, looking pitiful on the side, lowered her head and wiped away tears. But the corner of her lips couldn't help but curl up, a flash of smugness passing across her face. I don't believe he dares to say it. Cold Yunchi saw Sun Yan's hidden smugness as she lowered her head and Qi Luoshan's obvious expression of being at a loss. She couldn't help but laugh coldly inside. With just this level of skill, setting up Qi Luoshan might work, but it's far from enough when facing me. Brother Xiao. Cold Yunchi turned her head to look at Xiao Ran. "Last night, when my mother and I were seeing young Master Qiao off, we were photographed by nearby residents and unexpectedly became a hot topic. At that time, your secretary here was at a bar with Qi Luoshan, talking about some things between you and me in the past." Saying this, she deliberately paused. Suddenly, the expression on her face changed. "I just want to know, as a secretary, what right does she have to meddle in the private affairs between Brother Xiao and me?" Xiao Ran's expression indeed changed. He turned his head to look at Sun Yin, his gaze like lightning. What exactly did she say to make Cold Yunchi react like this? In the vast office, under everyone's gaze, Sun Yan's face turned solemn, filled with fear. "I didn't mean to." Xiao Ran coldly turned away, ignoring her. Seeing this, Sun Yin was now completely panicked. "I considered Miss Qi a friend. I was just talking casually. I didn't think he would post it online." As she spoke, she looked towards Cold Yunchi. "Miss Cole, please forgive me. I was negligent. I spoke carelessly. I really didn't expect Miss Qi to use your and our chairman's private matters as leverage." Cold Yunchi looked as if she had expected this. "Brother Xiao Ran, I just graduated from university and don't quite understand workplace rules. How are employees who maintain professional ethics usually handled?" Sun Yin suddenly felt panicked. Was Cold Yunchi going to push her to the brink? Xiao Ran coldly threw a sentence at Sun Yin. "Report to HR later. Undergo new employee training again. Your salary and benefits will be reduced by 20%. Today you'll receive a company-wide criticism notice." Hearing this, Sun Yin immediately lowered her head. However, no one saw that her lowered face was twisted almost beyond recognition at that moment. "Young Master Xiao actually treated me like this for Cold Yunchi." Sun Yin clenched her fists in anger. Combined with her reddened eyes, she looked as if she wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Qi Luoshan was looking pleased. However, before he could rejoice, a second later, Xiao Ran suddenly turned his gaze directly towards him. "Barging into my company in broad daylight to hit people. Do you think Xiao Corporation is a place where anyone can run wild?" Sun Yin gossiping about my and Cold Yunchi's private matters outside is indeed problematic. "As for you, man," he waved his hand, "security, throw him out." Qi Luoshan immediately started struggling. "Cold Yunchi, I was really wrong. Please forgive me this once." The onlookers around quietly took out their phones and recorded what had just happened. They uploaded the video they had just taken to Weibo. The effect was explosive. Everyone also understood clearly the beginning and end of this matter. The man fell in love with her at first sight at the banquet. So when the woman called to apologize in order to see her again, he started to make things difficult for him. After the whole thing was resolved, Cold Yunchi felt she should apologize to the other party involved. After thinking about it, she decided this matter couldn't be delayed. So she asked her mother for young Master Qiao's phone number. With Xiao Yuma's low-key personality, he must have missed something and hadn't noticed this trending topic yet. She needed to quickly apologize to him. So, Cold Yunchi estimated that at this time, Xiao Yuma should be about to have lunch and should be free to answer the phone, so she dialed directly. The phone rang for 2 seconds before it was answered. A faint voice with a hint of nonchalance came through. Cold Yunchi quickly introduced herself, fearing the other party might think it was a strange call and hang up directly. "Do you need something from me?" came from the other end of the phone. "Last night when you left, we were accidentally photographed by passersby. It was posted on Weibo and became a hot topic. A classmate of mine took the opportunity to smear me, and as a result, dragged you into it too. So I'm calling to apologize to you." In the spacious conference room, hearing this, a smile appeared on the man's lips. "You called just to apologize to me?" Then he stood up and waved to everyone, indicating to pause the meeting. The executives around were stunned. Young Master Chiao had never taken a personal call in the middle of a meeting, let alone while smiling. Who could be so important to make young Master Chiao show such an expression? On the other end, Cold Yunchi said, "Yes, I mainly wanted to apologize to you." Seeming to sense Cold Yunchi's embarrassment, Xiao Yuma couldn't help but laugh. "Just a phone call for an apology? It seems a bit insincere. You think my apology lacks sincerity? How about I treat you to a meal?" She racked her brains and could only come up with this suggestion. Unexpectedly, the other side agreed readily. "There's a good restaurant near my company. I'll have someone send you the location. Just come over directly." After hanging up the phone, Cold Yunchi immediately let out a breath. Talking to a big shot on the phone made her palms sweat. Just then, her phone made a WeChat notification sound. "Xiao has requested to add you as a friend. Do you agree?" Cold Yunchi's finger quickly tapped to agree to add. As soon as she added him as a friend, Cold Yunchi couldn't resist wanting to see if the big shot's moments were different from others. Then, just as she opened the first dynamic photo, her ears gradually burned up. She stared blankly. It was the photo that topped the headlines last night. The picture of her and him together. Young Master Chiao not only saw this photo, but also saved and posted it on his moments. For a moment, she held her phone, doubting if she was dreaming. Cold Yunchi couldn't help but recall the way he spoke softly in her ear at that time. That deep, magnetic voice seemed to still linger in her ear. A subtle feeling quietly spread in her heart. Then her phone pinged again. Xiao Yuma had sent the restaurant's location directly. So Cold Yunchi changed her clothes and hurried to the restaurant. As soon as she entered, the restaurant manager bowed to welcome her. "Miss Cold, young Master Chiao is already waiting for you in the private room." Cold Yunchi couldn't help but quicken her steps. She sat down opposite him. "I'm sorry, young Master Chiao, I'm late. My company is nearby, so naturally I arrived earlier than you." Xiao Yuma saw her cheeks were slightly flushed, probably because she had rushed upstairs just now. So he personally handed her a glass of water. Cold Yunchi composed herself. She finally spoke to the man. "I'm very sorry about the trending topic." Xiao Yuma looked at her calmly, his expression relaxed. But what he said was completely unexpected. "What do you have to apologize for?" Cold Yunchi thought, "What's with this man? He wasn't like this when he answered the phone earlier. He made me so nervous. Was he just teasing me?" Her following apology words got stuck halfway. Looking at Cold Yunchi's surprised expression, Xiao Yuma smiled indifferently. "Ivachik, the online war was provoked by the Chi family. The photo was taken by a passerby. It's quite good actually. I even shared it on my moments." The last word carried a faint smile, so it was just a casual share. She had thought of various possibilities when she saw his moments earlier. Suddenly, she felt she had overthought it. Her shoulders relaxed, and her whole body eased up. The tension in her heart also loosened. A smile of amusement appeared on her face. "But earlier on the phone, you said my apology lacked sincerity." Xiao Yuma took in all her changes, a smile flitting across his lips. "As compensation, I invite you to visit my company. Aren't you preparing to inherit the family business?" Hearing this, Cold Yunchi smiled confidently, looking straight into his eyes. "Then I humbly accept." This was the Qiao family, above all other wealthy families. Qiao Yuma, the family head, was also the man who controlled the entire business world. Cold Yunchi enjoyed the special treatment of being personally led into the Qiao Group's headquarters by such a man today. My God, who's that beside the CEO? This is the first time I've seen our CEO walking with a woman. Isn't that the one who trended with our CEO? So this is what they call a goddess face. I've truly witnessed it. First time seeing a girl who matches our CEO's face. I feel like her face is just palm-sized. She's even more beautiful in person than in photos. Cold Yunchi followed behind Xiao Yuma all the way, hearing the Xiao Group employees' whispers that they thought were very quiet. Sisters, your voices aren't as low as you think they are. The moment the elevator doors closed, the entire first floor was immediately sealed off. Just as Cold Yunchi and Xiao Yuma reached the CEO's office door, Luo Jin saw the woman beside his boss and was stunned for 3 seconds before greeting them. Xiao Yuma looked at his watch, thinking about the afternoon group meeting that couldn't be delayed. So he asked Luo Jin to show Cold Yunchi around. If you get tired, you can rest in my office for a while. Cold Yunchi was stunned for a moment, but nodded seriously. Then I'll trouble assistant Luo. Luo Jin, looking dazed, led Cold Yunchi to the elevator. He finally came to his senses and asked which department Miss Cold would like to visit first. Cold Yunchi directly stated the department she most wanted to see. I'd like to see the business operations department first, if that's convenient. At this moment, Luo Jin could no longer hide the astonishment in his eyes. When outsiders come to visit, their first reaction is usually to see the business department or the technology R&D department. It's the first time someone has wanted to visit business operations. Understanding the connection, Luo Jin's attitude unconsciously became more respectful. Since the CEO asked me to show you around, you can go anywhere you like. As he spoke, he had already pressed the floor button. At this moment, looking at Cold Yunchi's expression, his own also instantly became much more serious. The business operations department was the least involved with core productivity, yet it could be directly learned from and applied to various industries. Miss Cold was definitely not the airhead that rumors portrayed her to be. She was truly preparing to enter the business world. As Luo Jin led her on the tour, he introduced the department's operations. Before they knew it, 2 hours had passed. Cold Yunchi's visit to the Qiao Group could be said to be very successful. So Luo Jin, as Qiao Yuma had instructed, brought Cold Yunchi to the CEO's office. Miss Cold, it's almost 3 p.m. The meeting will start soon. You can rest in the CEO's office for a while. Cold Yunchi sat alone in the spacious office, thinking about how Qiao Yuma had treated her to lunch, and now she had visited his company. Cold Yunchi calculated that she owed him 2 favors in one go. Originally sitting on the sofa, she gradually changed to lying down. Finally, without realizing it, she comfortably closed her eyes and accidentally fell asleep. When the meeting ended, Qiao Yuma returned to his office. As he pushed open the door, a peaceful face came into view. She was lying on her side on the leather sofa. Her cheeks had a faint pink glow under the light. Her lips looked crystal clear, as if her entire being was carved from colored glass. Seeing her sleeping soundly, Qiao Yuma didn't wake her up directly. Instead, he took out a precious blanket and gently covered her with it. Just at this moment, the office door was suddenly pushed open. An excited voice came from outside. "Young Master Qiao, I heard from the staff that you brought a woman today." Wang Qian's excited voice stopped abruptly as he pushed the door open and saw Qiao Yuma standing by Cold Yunchi's side. The expression on his face was like he had been punched, stunned to the point of questioning reality. What am I seeing? Young Master Qiao is actually watching over Cold Yunchi's nap? Am I dreaming? Suddenly feeling like I might be assassinated by young Master Qiao. At this time, Cold Yunchi heard the noise and couldn't help but frown. The next second, she blinked her eyes. I just fell asleep, looking at the precious blanket covering her. Suddenly, a deep, magnetic voice came from above her head. "You're awake." Cold Yunchi's body stiffened. Following the source of the voice, she found that Xiao Yuma was sitting less than half a meter away from her. "Can I rewind to half an hour ago? I promise I'll sit properly in the chair and not lean on this too comfortable sofa." She smiled awkwardly, suddenly feeling a pair of eyes behind her, like a spotlight shining on her. She turned her head, and the person enthusiastically introduced himself. "Hello, I'm Wang Qian. I attended your birthday party yesterday." This man thought about the scene he had just witnessed, unsure whether he was excited or regretted ruining the moment. If he hadn't barged in just now, with these two on the sofa, would something have happened next? Sister-in-law, next time I'll definitely knock properly. Cold Yunchi wanted nothing more than to cover this person's mouth with her hand. What sister-in-law? What was this guy randomly calling her? She tried to explain the situation simply, but Wang Qian had an "I understand, sister-in-law, no need to hide it" expression his eyebrows moving up and down. I get it, sister-in-law. I won't say a word outside. I promise to keep it secret. Hearing this, cold Yunchi completely gave up. This was a fool who had made up his mind. You could explain 800 times, and he wouldn't hear a single punctuation mark. So cold Yunchi couldn't help but turn her head to look at Xiao Yuma, hoping he would say something. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yuma avoided this topic. He asked Wang Qian why he came. You don't need to attend today's meeting. Wang Qian opened and closed his mouth. Can I say I was just wandering nearby? Heard a rumor that young Master Qiao brought a woman. Took his private elevator straight to the CEO's office, and I got excited and rushed over. Seeing that Xiao Yuma hadn't looked over, Wang Qian swallowed and said, I just happened to be passing by and wanted to check on you. It's been a few days since you returned from abroad. The guys are all waiting to welcome you back. Noticing he seemed to be considering his schedule, Wang Qian couldn't help but glance at cold Yunchi beside him. Why don't we just have a gathering tonight? Sister-in-law, Miss Cold can come too. Cold Yunchi's eyes widened instantly, looking at him with disbelief. She thought, it's your private gathering, why should I go? She was about to politely decline when the words were on the tip of her tongue. Xiao Yuma said, since you've brought it up now, let's go together. You choose the place. We'll leave after I finish the meeting. The man turned his head to look at her, as if understanding her confusion. Didn't you say you're preparing to take over your family's company? Getting to know people will be helpful for your future. Cold Yunchi was stunned. She already owed Xiao Yuma 2 favors that she hadn't repaid. It felt awkward to accept his kindness again, but thinking about Xiao Yuma's connections, surely they would all be important people. It would be a missed opportunity to pass this up. After all, owing more debts wasn't a concern. She could just owe him 3 times and repay slowly. In an instant, self-interest won out, so she agreed to go along. Hearing her quick agreement, Xiao Yuma stood up, saying he would go to the meeting room first. Entertain yourselves in the meantime. Wang Qian quickly nodded upon hearing this, telling him to go ahead and that he would take good care of Miss Cold. Xiao Yuma had only taken 2 steps when he turned back. He looked at Cold Yunchi again and said, if you're bored, there's a bookshelf and computer over there. Cold Yunchi nodded. After the man left, she casually picked up a book and started reading intently. Wang Qian took the opportunity to snap a photo of her profile while she was reading. He immediately sent it to the WeChat group, tagging everyone, look, Cold Yunchi is coming and going freely in my young Master Qiao's office. My bro even said she should come to tonight's gathering. What do you guys think this means? As soon as Wang Qian's message was sent, people in the WeChat group immediately started chiming in. Isn't this the one who trended with Brother Qiao? Wang Qian was very satisfied with the effect of dropping this bomb. The smile on his face was hard to hide. Brother Qiao also posted that trending photo on his moments. I thought his account was hacked. What does this mean? Official announcement coming soon. He put away his phone and walked over to Cold Yunchi, curiously glancing at what she was reading so intently. Miss Cold, what book are you reading? There's a computer right there. Wouldn't gaming be more fun? Cold Yunchi turned the book cover to show him. Wang Qian blinked, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him. Institutional investment and fund management innovation. Cold Yunchi was actually engrossed in this purely financial book. Miss Cold, do you understand this? Cold Yunchi blinked. I'm quite interested in this. Brother Qiao said you're preparing to take over your family's company. Why are you thinking so hard? Why not just find a professional manager to run the company and sit back to collect dividends? This comment made Cold Yunchi ponder. Can one simply enjoy the good life after being reborn into a wealthy family? I never thought of it that way. After all, I still have many old scores to settle with Xiao Ran. Xiao Xiaodian wasn't qualified to go up against the Xiao group, but Cold Yunchi could. When she truly had enough capital, she would definitely make the Xiao group pay the price, avenging her grandfather and herself. Seeing Cold Yunchi lost in thought for a while, Wang Qian waved his hand in front of her face. The Miss Cold finally brought Cold Yunchi back to her senses. I thought about it and feel that making money myself gives me a greater sense of achievement. Wang Qian's gaze towards her was a mix of admiration and bewilderment. He immediately sent another message to the group. Cold Yunchi is beautiful, smart, and has ambition. Who spread the rumor that she's just a pretty face with no substance? He kept talking while sending photos. Xiao Yuma finished a day of meetings. When he returned to his office, loosening his tie, he witnessed this scene. Cold Yunchi was reading with her head down, while Wang Qian was frantically taking photos from all angles. Xiao Yuma stood behind him with a gloomy face and asked, "What are you doing?" The man was caught secretly photographing his potential sister-in-law. He was so flustered. With a guilty look, he said, "My brothers asked when I'm going over." I just replied, "I'm really not a pervert. I absolutely have no designs on sister-in-law. I can swear." Xiao Yuma looked helplessly at his guilty expression and directly ignored him. Then she said to Cold Yunqi that she would go change clothes first and leave soon. After saying that, Xiao Yuma loosened his tie. Cold Yunqi nodded quietly. As the man's tie came loose, revealing his sexy Adam's apple, the woman blushed and quickly turned away. "What's going on?" The big boss is usually cold and noble, but with his tie off, he suddenly had a deadly charm. Soon, the three of them were sitting in the car. Xiao Yuma suddenly spoke up, "I heard you went to Xiao Corporation this morning." Wang Qian, sitting in the passenger seat, immediately perked up his ears. Xiao Ran, wasn't he the one who wanted to dance with Cold Mingqi at the ball? She went to Xiao Corp in the morning, then came to Xiao Corp in the afternoon. Little sister-in-law's schedule is packed. At this moment, Cold Mingqi only felt the atmosphere was a bit strange, but didn't think much of it. She nodded frankly, saying that Qi Luoshan, who had slandered her online, came with her whole family to apologize this morning. She said she was deliberately set up by Xiao Ran's secretary, so she went to Xiao Corp to watch their confrontation. Xiao Yuma clearly hadn't expected the story to take this turn. Why would Xiao Ran's secretary provoke you? Thinking of Cold Yunqi's earlier blurt about who hasn't liked someone when they were young and naive, the playboy's gaze dulled slightly. Could it be that the playboy wants to come back? Hearing Xiao Yuma so naturally replace Xiao Ran's name with playboy, Cold Yunqi couldn't help but sneer. Coming back was out of the question, not even a window of opportunity. He wasn't stupid. Xiao Ran's attitude this morning was clearly aiming for an alliance with the Cold family through marriage. He was dreaming. The unusual look in Xiao Yuma's brow disappeared in an instant. He turned and reminded her, "If you need any help, remember to tell me." Cold Yunqi smiled and nodded. Wang Qian, who was observing closely, clearly saw the changes in Xiao Yuma's expression. He couldn't help but swallow. Xiao Ran actually wants to steal my Xiao brother's girl? This is big news. In the most spacious private room, everyone else had arrived. They were just waiting for them. Wang Qian saw everyone playing cards, so he couldn't help but call Mingqi over to join. Why not invite young Master Qiao? I don't know these wealthy young ladies. Wang Qian understood the meaning in Cold Yunqi's eyes. With a sympathetic look, he pressed Xiao Yuma onto the sofa. My Xiao brother didn't sleep until at least 3 a.m., and today was another day of meetings. Even Iron Man can't be pushed like this. Yunqi, just take pity on my Xiao brother and take his place, okay? Cold Yunqi looked at Xiao Yuma. He was just lazily leaning back in his chair, but didn't deny it. The big boss is so busy, he even sacrificed his lunch break to eat with me. She thought for a moment, then nodded in agreement. After she sat down, she didn't ask about the specific chip values. Instead, she turned her head and softly asked Xiao Yuma, "How much do you usually win?" Hearing Cold Mingqi's question, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. His voice was slightly playful. "You're so sure? Usually I always win. You directly ask how much I win, not about winning or losing." The next second, Cold Yunqi immediately turned to look at Xiao Yuma. "If you could lose, then you wouldn't be Xiao Yuma." To Xiao Yuma, this didn't sound quite right. He turned his head to look at Cold Mingqi, who was waiting for his answer. They had only known each other for 2 days, but this person seemed to have an unreasonable understanding of him. Feng Ruotang saw the two of them still whispering and couldn't help but be surprised. Xiao Yuma never let anyone take his place at the table before. It seems old Xiao really is different with this Miss Cold. At this time, Xiao Yuma deliberately moved closer to Cold Mingqi, closing the distance slightly. Don't go easy on them. Wait until they beg for mercy. So after a few rounds, seeing his own chips dwindling to almost nothing, Feng Ruotang watched her wide-eyed. "Yunqi, you're very good at counting cards." Wang Qian, who had never won against anyone in this room when playing cards, now felt that Cold Yunqi was a god. Winning once can be attributed to luck, but winning consistently relies on card counting and calculations. Is that even a question? He smiled calmly, but he absolutely couldn't admit it easily. After all, the original owner was just an art student. Because Xiao Yuma hadn't rested for the past 2 days, the gathering ended early. Sitting in the car, Xiao Yuma expressed his curiosity. Cold Yunqi pretended to look at him with a puzzled expression. Xiao Yuma's gaze searched back and forth on his face. Besides card counting and calculations, what else can you do? Don't play dumb. Or are you hiding something? Cold Yunqi wiped the smile off her face. Could he be starting to doubt my identity? The man had observed him all day. Only now did he finally see the tip of the iceberg, confirming that his feelings weren't wrong. From beginning to end, Cold Yunqi had been hiding something. Cold Yunqi wasn't surprised that Xiao Yuma could guess. But unless it was Qing Li, no one would guess that her soul had been replaced. He simply gave up pretending. I'm afraid if I tell you, you'll tell Grandpa. A while ago, I fell into a swimming pool and forgot many things from before. He's old and shouldn't worry about me anymore. Xiao Yuma didn't expect this answer. This explained why Cold Yunqi was so different from the granddaughter old Master Cold described. Does your mother know? Cold Yunqi looked directly into Xiao Yuma's eyes without a flicker. Of course Mom knows. Hospital experts said my after effects will gradually recover, but the exact time of full recovery can't be determined. Xiao Yuma calmly repeated the 3 words after effects that the woman mentioned. Cold Yunqi seemed to hear her thoughts and asked if young Master Xiao had any other questions. Xiao Yuma's eyebrows furrowed imperceptibly. I'm not knowledgeable about medicine, but I'm a bit confused. Can memory loss cause such a big change in personality? Can it make a person's abilities stronger? The air in the car suddenly became slightly tense. Cold Yunqi pretended to be calm and laughed. Is young Master Xiao indirectly praising my abilities? Do you think I'm different from the rumors? Cold Yunqi continued. Since meeting young Master Xiao, I've been thinking that one really shouldn't judge a person based on rumors. If I hadn't had the fortune to interact with young Master Xiao, I would never have doubted the image of Xiao Yuma in the rumors. Xiao Yuma's expression gradually returned to his usual languid state. He asked Cold Yunqi, what was the Xiao Yuma in the rumors like? Cold Yunqi sat there, starting to count on her fingers. People say young Master Xiao is a prodigy, high above the clouds, both unapproachable and unfathomable. The man asked if what people said wasn't correct. Cold Yunqi replied, these descriptions only capture 1/10,000 of the real Xiao Yuma. They're far from encompassing the you in front of me. Now it's Miss Cold's turn to praise me indirectly. Without realizing it, the car had already arrived at the Cold residence. After getting out of the car, Cold Yunqi and Xiao Yuma said goodnight to each other. When she turned around, she finally let out a slow sigh of relief. Acting in front of Xiao Yuma was really a tough job, but regarding the memory loss, I repeated the doctor's exact words. Even if Xiao Yuma investigates, there won't be any discrepancies. Meanwhile, in the car, Xiao Yuma's impression of her was refreshed once again. The seamless topic changes, the perfectly timed flattery, the seemingly honest answers. He found Cold Yunqi very interesting indeed. Early the next morning, Cold Yunqi drove a very flashy sports car to the airport. The night before last, she and her roommate Zhou Yun had cursed Qi Luan in their WeChat group, and now Zhou Yun was flying in to visit. In a place like Daijing, luxury cars weren't rare. But one as extravagant as hers was completely different. Does this car really exist in the real world? I feel like I haven't seen such an exaggerated sports car even in Fast and Furious. Cold Yunqi got out of the car, just in time to hear various exclamations around her. Zhou Yun watched Cold Yunqi walk towards her, dressed in Martin boots and black pants, looking both cool and attractive. She was so shocked her eyes almost popped out. Sister, having you pick me up is simply too blissful. Even when my signed idol goes out, they don't have this much face. Cold Yunqi looked at her amusedly. Your mouth is the real trickster. No man can sweet talk like you. The two had just arrived at the hotel to check in. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. What a coincidence. I didn't expect to see you here. Cold Yunqi looked up, meeting Xiao Ran's meaningful gaze. Xiao Ran stared at her intently. He wasn't sure if it was his imagination, but lately, every time they met, she seemed a bit different. The man's scrutinizing gaze made Cold Yunqi curl her lips. It is a coincidence. Mr. Xiao, my roommate came to visit Daijing. I'm helping her check into the hotel. Standing beside them, Zhou Yun understood. This handsome man was Xiao Ran, Li Ningqi's secret crush. Hearing this, Xiao Ran frowned slightly, but quickly regained his composure. He then said he had reserved a private room and invited the two of them to have a meal together. However, Cold Yunqi unhesitatingly declined, saying she had other matters to attend to. She then lazily put on her sunglasses and started to leave. But before she could take 2 steps, the man in front of her blocked her path. Xiao Ran slowly moved closer to her. I remember you used to call me Brother Xiao Ran. Why are you now calling me Mr. Xiao? Cold Yunqi met his gaze. I've learned from my mistakes. A few days ago, I was trending on social media and got exposed online. Wasn't it all because brother Xiao Ran's secretary's sister couldn't stand it and spread rumors everywhere. If there weren't others present, Zhou Yun would have jumped up to applaud cold Yunqi. Now she could only silently give her friend a thumbs up from the side. What a clever move to shift the blame. That's right, throw the pot right back. Indeed, when cold Yunqi mentioned it was his secretary's fault, Xiao Ran didn't pursue the matter further. Instead, he quickly apologized. That incident was my fault for not managing my employees well. At this moment, cold Yunqi felt that the Xiao Ran she knew was never this good-tempered. She couldn't help but sneer inwardly. I was at fault too. My mom always said I didn't know my boundaries before. She told me to learn to separate personal and professional matters in the future, and not to overstep. The sunglasses hid cold Yunqi's expression. He couldn't see through her true feelings. Andy is right. She was using the elders to mock him for overstepping and not knowing his place. Since that birthday banquet, he couldn't see through this woman's true expressions. Now he really wanted to take off her sunglasses and see clearly what game she was playing. Zoyan saw that the conversation was about to die, so she quickly stepped in to smooth things over. I'm sorry, Mr. Xiao. We've already made plans to meet classmates for dinner at the university town, so we won't bother you. Cold Yunqi knew Zhou Yun meant well, so she didn't expose this white lie. Instead, without further delay, she turned and left. At this moment, Xiao Ran was certain that cold Yunqi didn't want to spend even a second more with him. Just then, his assistant came to remind him that the clients were waiting. He told the assistant to accompany the clients first, saying he'd make a phone call and be right there. I used to think cold Yunqi wanted to attract my attention and kept contradicting me. Now, it seems there might be something else going on, so he made a phone call to the deputy director of the hospital. Doctor, I'd like to ask for your help in finding a medical record. The patient's name is cold Yunqi. Don't you want to have such a conspicuous sister? Zhou Yun, eating hot pot, advised cold Yunqi. You rejected Xiao Ran too harshly. Aren't you afraid he'll create obstacles when you take over the company? Cold Yunqi knew she was truly concerned for her. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. At this point, Zhou Yun's gossip flame ignited again. But why has your attitude towards Xiao Ran changed so much? What exactly happened during the time I was away from Daijing? Cold Yunqi paused slightly. It seemed that Zhou Yun, her best friend, knew about the original's feelings for Xiao Ran. This story had to start with Xiao Ran's deceased girlfriend, Xia Xiaotian. Cold Yunqi briefly recounted their history. Finally, she casually mentioned her previous entanglement with Xiao Ran, of course, emphasizing that she now had absolutely no feelings for him. Zhou Yun first listened with a face full of amazement. This is more exciting than a romance novel. Xiao Ran doesn't love the wealthy heiresses of his own class, but only loves his star partner and subordinate. Do such fairy tale romances really exist in real life? At this moment, cold Yunqi gave a cold smile. If he truly loved Xia Xiaotian, why didn't he investigate when she and her grandfather died at the same time? Instead, he suppressed all kinds of public opinion, afraid of exposure. I was just stupid enough to believe in their love back then, and look where it got me. Indeed, just a moment ago, Zhou Yun's eyes were full of sparkling admiration. The next second, she shuddered all over. Thinking about it this way, she suddenly understood why her friend now so strongly rejected Xiao Ran. Previously, his love seemed so deep, but now, with the person barely dead, he's already actively flirting with Yunqi. Cold-blooded doesn't even begin to describe it. Sister, your decision to stay away from him is right. Rest assured, I'll definitely stand by your side from now on. No matter how handsome he is, I won't waver. Cold Yunqi chuckled lightly. Then I should thank you. After finishing their meal, the two agreed to visit Daijing University. They walked along the tree-lined avenue. Zhou Yun felt thirsty and ran to the convenience store to buy water. Cold Yunqi stood under a tree. She thought about her previous life studying at the neighboring University of Science and Technology, always competing with Daijing University students. After being reborn, she had become a Daijing University student, the very type she used to mock. It was quite interesting to think about. Just as she was lost in thought, a male student approached her. Hello, which department are you from? The boy had a thin face with a very nice jawline. His face was slightly red, clearly not used to approaching girls. Cold Yunchi mentioned the original's major in film and TV directing. The boy, looking at Cold Yunchi's fair and delicate features, couldn't help but step closer. "Can I add you on WeChat?" Passing students commented. "The computer science department's heartthrob is actually asking for someone's WeChat on the street? Isn't he supposed to be aloof?" Someone else said, "With looks like that, wouldn't you take the chance if given?" Cold Yunchi felt a bit helpless. "I'm sorry, I'm graduating this year." Zoyun liked the young puppy type, but she didn't. Just then, Zoyun came out of the convenience store with a grinning expression. "I was gone for just 5 minutes, and already a young puppy is hitting on you." Just when Cold Yunchi thought the boy would give up, he surprised her by being even more direct. "I don't mind," he said, stubbornly looking at Cold Yunchi. "I'm a junior, only a year younger than you. It's not much difference." She held her forehead, looking at Zhou Yun behind her, who was poking him and practically drooling. Cold Yunchi couldn't help but quietly gestured to her friend to wipe her mouth. Then she rejected him. "You're not my type, junior." She said this while pulling Zhou Yun, who seemed reluctant to leave, away. But the boy kept staring at her, determined not to give up. Feelings can be cultivated. Cold Yunchi was almost speechless. "Not interested in cultivating. We have something to do, so we're leaving." The boy behind them still persisted. "What's your name?" Cold Yunchi waved without looking back. "I'm Little Red Riding Hood, the kind that can kill the big bad wolf. So, don't get any ideas." The boy stood there muttering, "Little Red Riding Hood, we'll meet again." Sitting in the car, Zoyun finally couldn't help but say, "Sister, you're not interested even in a young puppy with looks like that?" Cold Yunchi said he was too young. She thought about how in her previous life, she was already 27 years old. This made Zoyun suddenly think of something. She excitedly suggested, "Then let me show you some young ones. There's a movie audition tomorrow. Why don't you come with me to watch?" Cold Yunchi was a bit confused. Seeing her reaction, Zoyun excitedly continued to persuade her. "Let me tell you, my dad has invested heavily in this film. He even invited the Palme d'Or winning director Ku and spent a fortune to get Liang Yingdi." Cold Yunchi couldn't understand why all this fuss. Zoyun winked. "Come with me." Cold Yunchi, tired of her persistence, reluctantly agreed. The next day, when they arrived at the set, the auditions were in full swing. Suddenly, Zoyun exclaimed with a love-struck face, "Oh my God, so handsome." Cold Yunchi followed her gaze. She couldn't help but casually ask, "Who's that?" To her surprise, Zoyun looked at her in disbelief. "No way, sister. It's Liang Luolin. Don't tell me you don't even know Liang Yingdi." Looking at the suddenly quiet crowd around them, Cold Yunchi wished she could send her talkative best friend straight to heaven. "Now, not only does the entire set know that I don't recognize Liang Yingdi, but even your family's box office champion himself has turned his head to look at me. Having such an eye-catching sister like you is truly my blessing." Just then, a woman in red holding a script with an angry face stopped the two of them. "Who are you? Don't you know this is a film set? Unauthorized personnel are not allowed in." Both of them looked at the arrogant actress. "How do you know we're unauthorized? Is this film set your family's property?" The actress didn't expect to be snapped at. Her face immediately turned sour. "You're making such a fuss. Aren't you just trying to attract Liang Yingdi's attention? You clearly don't belong here." She continued, "The set may not be owned by my family, but is it owned by yours?" Cold Yunchi and Zhou Yun exchanged smiles. "Actually, it is owned by our family. Let me introduce you. This is our young Miss Zhou, the daughter of the Zhou group." The woman in red looked at Cold Mingqi and Zhou Yun with embarrassment, unable to utter a word. Other actors on set couldn't help but start whispering among themselves. Someone's hit a steel plate. She offended the financial backer right off the bat. The producer directly ignored her and respectfully led the two to meet the team. On the creative team side, including director Ku and others, all came over to shake hands with young Miss Zhou. However, Liang Luolin kept looking in Cold Mingqi's direction, not to mention the all-seeing and all-hearing assistant director. Even Zhou Yun and director Ku, who were chatting enthusiastically, couldn't help but turn their heads. "Hello, I'm Liang Luolin." Cold Yunchi was a bit surprised. This movie star actually came over to greet her personally. Liang Luolin didn't expect to see Cold Yunchi's face here. "It seems Miss Cold doesn't remember that we once trended on the same day." With his reminder, Cold Yunchi suddenly realized, "Oh, that time when we were caught by paparazzi. I can't believe such a famous actor still remembers me." Zoyun looked at the movie star, then at her friend. If there weren't others around, she would have interrogated her on the spot. "Sister, what are you and Liang Yingdi talking about?" Liang Yingdi replied with a gentle smile, just exchanging pleasantries. Sister, Liang Yingdi seems to be treating you specially. Cold Yunqi pushed her face away. The actors who were originally waiting on stage for their auditions watched as Cold Yunqi and Zhou Yun took their seats in the front row VIP area. Liang Luolin sat on Cold Yunqi's right. Seeing her staring at the script, he asked if she had read it before. Cold Yunqi said no. Hearing this, Liang Luolin briefly explained the plot to Cold Yunqi. He summarized the story for Cold Yunqi. The dialogue is exquisite, as expected from a top-tier screenwriter. It seems the Zhou group is really invested in this film. From the moment Cold Yunqi appeared, Liang Luolin's gaze never left her. At this time, the assistant director called out through a megaphone, "Contestant number 3, get ready." The woman in red was seen, walking nervously to the center of the marked area on stage. The people she had mocked just a minute ago were now sitting among the most influential group for this movie, coldly watching her perform. The woman in red trembled as she stood at center stage. She opened her mouth, but before she could perform for even a minute, Director Ku interrupted her. "No, that's not right. Ruodong may be alluring, but she's not vulgar. She's casual and relaxed, with a charm that captivates at first sight. Do you understand?" The woman in red was on the verge of tears. She hurriedly begged the director, "I didn't perform well. Please give me another chance." But the director didn't want to waste time and simply said, "Next." Zhou Yun yawned boredly. "Let's go." "Sister, you really don't have that aura. The way you just performed. If the male lead didn't curse you out on the spot, I'd have to commend his patience." What terrible acting. Cold Yunqi originally didn't want to show any more expression for such an insignificant character. However, her sister's words were too funny. Unable to hold back, she directly laughed out loud. This laugh directly stunned Director Ko. This was the cinnabar mole that noble families would cherish for a lifetime, with the proper elegance. Just as he was about to speak, there was a loud thud. The woman in red standing on stage suddenly collapsed to the ground. Staff members quickly rushed over. "What happened? Call an ambulance quickly." Many people passing by outside couldn't help but crane their necks to take a look. Watching such scenes has always been popular in China. Cold Yunqi's gaze casually swept around. When she saw a familiar figure, her expression paused slightly. "Sun Yin? Why is he here?" She immediately stood up and said to Zhou Yun, "I'm going out for a bit. I'll be right back." Then she directly left the scene. Just as she left the set, she saw the figure she had glimpsed earlier under the shade of trees nearby. Sun Yin was holding a tablet computer. Next to her stood a very ordinarily dressed set worker who seemed to be explaining something. The man suddenly looked up and was so stunned he couldn't speak. Sun Yin saw him go silent and was about to scold him. Then she saw a cold, yet beautiful face appear in front of her. Sun Yin instinctively took a step back. "Miss Cold, why are you here too?" Cold Yunqi glanced at her indifferently. "Shouldn't I be asking you that? Weren't you transferred back to HR for retraining? Is Xiao Group's HR department located here?" "Of course not. Miss Cold, you're deliberately making fun of me. HR arranged for me to come do research and analysis reports." However, when Cold Yunqi saw the tablet in her hand, her gaze instantly became clear. So Xiao Group also wants to extend a hand into the film and television industry. Is the rumored frivolous heiress this quick-witted? No wonder she had Qi Luoshan wrapped around her finger before. It turns out this person is completely different from the rumors outside. Sun Yin felt both angry and afraid at the same time. She pretended to look innocent. "I'm not too sure either. I'm just completing the tasks assigned by the company." As soon as she finished speaking, she happened to see Liang Ruolin not far away. "I didn't expect to see Liang Yingdi here." So she slightly lowered her head. "Miss Cold, I know you dislike me because of the previous misunderstanding, but I really didn't know that Miss Qi would spread rumors outside. Please forgive me." She had a look of enduring humiliation on her face. Cold Yunqi really looked down on her petty tactics. "Miss Sun, you looking like this and playing the pitiful act is really incongruous. If you love acting so much, why don't you go to some auditions and learn from professionals? You're so amateur, it makes your Xiao Group's threshold seem too low." Sun Yin looked at Liang Luolin with an agitated expression. She approached step by step, until the other person turned her head and glanced lightly at Cold Yunqi. "Miss Cold, the director is looking for you everywhere about the lunch you arranged." Liang Yingdi and Cold Yunqi actually know each other? Sun Yin was first caught off guard by this realization. Then suddenly a bolt of lightning struck in her mind. "Oditi-un, is Cold Yunqi going to act?" Sun Yin looked up at Cold Yunqi with a bewildered face, then looked at Liang Yingdi, unable to process this news for a a moment. After Cold Yunchi learned about Xiao Group's plans to enter the film and television industry, she lost interest in someone like Sun Yin. Now hearing Liang Luolin say this, she thought Zhou Yin had sent him to call her, so she nodded. Let's go. Without giving Sun Yin another glance, she turned and left. Liang Luolin didn't rush to leave with her, but instead fell slightly behind. This was originally to maintain social distance. Who knew that by falling behind, it would give Sun Yin an opportunity? Mr. Liang, wait a moment. Sun Yin suddenly grabbed his sleeve, her eyes slightly red, with a cautious look on her face. You know Miss Cole? Liang Luolin looked down at Sun Yan's hand clutching his sleeve, his gaze completely cold. The weak and innocent expression on Sun Yan's face froze there. As if just realizing her rudeness, she quickly let go. I'm sorry, I was just excited for a moment. It wasn't on purpose. If you know Miss Cold Yunchi, could you help explain to her? She really misunderstood. Liang Luolin originally hadn't planned to linger here. Hearing her words, he paused for a moment before speaking. You and Miss Cold have a misunderstanding? Sun Yin carefully held back her tears, her eyes turning red. Miss Cold was implicated by rumors spread by her classmate, which affected me. I was reprimanded by the company, but Miss Cold is still angry with me. I want to explain clearly, but Miss Cold won't listen to me at all. The woman thought to herself, Liang Luolin is known for being gentle and kind. She must really dislike arrogant women. Just as she was about to add fuel to the fire by shedding a few tears, she heard a scoffing voice from above. Are we that close? Why should I help you? Also, your acting is really terrible. I suggest you take some acting classes to improve. After saying that, he turned and left. Cold Yunchi returned to the film set. Zhou Yun immediately pulled her to say goodbye to the director, explaining that they had something to do in the afternoon and would leave first. The director suddenly became anxious. Wait, I have something I want to ask Miss Cold. Would you be willing to play the role of Ruodong? Cold Yunchi's expression was shocked for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. Seeing everyone else looking at her and Director Ku expectantly, she pursed her lips. Director Ku, I'm very grateful that you think so highly of me, but I have no acting experience at all. Seeing Director Ku's serious expression, Zhou Yun suddenly had a thought. Remembering how the director kept glancing at her sister during the morning's audition, she couldn't help but feel amused. My sister is about to become Director Ku's leading lady. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? But Cold Mingqi still refused Director Ku, saying she had no plans to act. The girl had simply declined an invitation from a famous director, yet others criticized her for raising her price, thinking too highly of herself. Some even said she was just pretending to be noble. There were even those who said she was scheming, definitely wanting to use the two actresses to gain popularity. In the entire crew, only Zhou Yun knew Cold Yunchi's background and identity. Little did they know how quickly they would be slapped in the face. Cold Yunchi politely declined. Zhe Ming, the heir of the Zhe group, sauntered into the set with a carefree attitude. Cold Yunchi, is that really you? When I saw that limited edition Lamborghini outside, I knew it had to be you. How about we go for a spin at the club later? The middle-aged man behind him apologized respectfully. Sorry, everyone. This is the son of the park's owner. He has a friend here and came to say hello. Cold Yunchi looked carefully at the young man speaking and suddenly remembered. He was one of the group of rich playboys that Yuanxing used to hang out with. Zhe Ming, what a coincidence. As they were talking, the man had already walked up to her. What coincidence? My dad said there was a big client coming for an inspection today and insisted I come. Let's go to the racing club later. Okay. I want to try out your limited edition Lamborghini. Cold Yunchi said she had other plans today, but she underestimated the man's attraction to sports cars. Then let's go now. I've been eyeing your car for days. Cold Yunchi had no choice but to say a word to Zhou Yun behind her. Except for Zhou Yun, everyone else stared at Cold Yunchi with stunned expressions. What had they just heard? Limited edition Lamborghini? Friends with the son of a real estate tycoon? Who exactly was this Miss Cold? Someone couldn't help but speak up. Young Miss Zhou, this friend of yours, Zhou Yun, seeing no point in pretending anymore, decided to tell the truth. Cold Yunchi? Doesn't that surname ring any bells? Her grandfather is Cold Xiaowei, and her maternal grandfather is Zhang Hefan, the patriarch of the prestigious Cold family and the helmsman of the wealthy Zhang family. Director Ku's invitation from earlier suddenly seemed foolish. How could such a young lady from a prominent family come to act in a movie? Meanwhile, Cold Yunchi's phone suddenly rang in the car. She casually glanced at it. The caller ID made her pause slightly. It was actually Xiao Ran. Yinchi, I heard you went to the film city in the south today. Cold Yinchi chuckled softly. Sun Yin was indeed quick to report. She had just run into him and immediately went to inform Xiao Ran. Didn't you meet my friend Zhou Yin? Her family studio is here. I just came to hang out, she responded casually, waiting for Xiao Ran's next words. He wouldn't call for no reason. Sure enough, hearing her speak so openly, Xiao Ran paused before continuing. You just graduated. You don't know how deep the waters of the entertainment industry are. This circle is too chaotic. It's fun to play around, but be careful in everything. Cold Yunchi's lips curled into a cold smile. He was afraid she would step into the field. I'm just here with my girlfriends to take a look, she said innocently, her voice carrying a hint of casualness, as if she couldn't care less. After hanging up Cold Yunchi, who originally had no interest in the entertainment industry, now had some other ideas, knowing how much Xiao Ran valued it. Returning to the set, she glanced at Director Ke's gloomy face and couldn't help but smile. Director Ke just said he wanted me to play the role of Ruado. Director Ke was stunned, not expecting Cold Yunchi to bring up this topic again. His face immediately showed excitement. However, thinking of what Miss Zhou had just said, it was like a bucket of cold water on a raging fire. Even his speech became somewhat listless. Zhou Yun comfortingly patted the director, gesturing him to stay strong. Cold Yunchi couldn't help but smile slightly. This matter isn't entirely impossible. Zhou Yun's bright eyes widened, staring motionlessly at Cold Yunchi. Sister, you're more unpredictable than a mountain road with 18 bends. You're planning something big, aren't you? Miss Cold, I owe you a favor. Although I'm just a director with an ordinary net worth, if you ever need anything in the future, just ask. All the frustration from this morning has completely vanished now. The people standing nearby looked at him with subtle expressions. As one of the top directors in the country, he called himself ordinary. But then looking at Cold Yunchi beside him, it seemed to make sense. Cold Yunchi stated that although she agreed to act, she would be going to High City next week to take over her family's company. She might need the director to delay Ruodong's scenes. The director, not knowing how to describe his feelings, just kept nodding. Of course, no problem. We won't waste Miss Cold's time. Zhou Yun happily hugged her sister. To celebrate, let's go have a big meal. When Deputy General Manager Chun heard her plans, he almost had a heart attack. Both were family heirs, but while others could take over companies, our little Miss Zhou only knew how to eat. Zhou Yun pretended not to see Deputy General Manager Chen's expression, tugging on Cold Yunchi's arm, but she still felt a chill down her spine. The weather, which had been clear just moments ago, suddenly turned to light rain. Seeing Zhou Yun pulling Cold Yunchi aside, whispering urgently as if they needed to leave, Liang Yingdi brought over 2 umbrellas for them. After thanking him, they were about to leave when Liang Roland suddenly said, Miss Cold, I'm looking forward to working with you. Please take care of me during filming. Cold Yunchi smiled. Not at all. I'm afraid I have a lot to learn from Mr. Liang. Their farewell scene was secretly photographed. As a loyal fan of Liang Roland, Qilin immediately shared this photo in the fan group. Breaking news! I actually saw my idol Liang with that trending girl together on set. This candid photo quickly stirred up a storm. Fans in the group were going crazy one by one. What's going on? Does Brother Liang have a rumored girlfriend? Maybe this girl isn't with Brother. Isn't she the one who was with Jushuan? I knew there was something fishy about her. She hasn't even debuted and is already riding on my brother's fame. Shameless. Where's the manager? Where's the studio? Meanwhile, Zhou Yun was gossiping all the way. Cold Yunchi hadn't planned to hide anything from her and briefly mentioned Xiao Ran's call. I knew there was a reason you suddenly changed your mind and agreed to act. But are you really planning to block Xiao Ran's path? Acting in a movie is just a shadow. My real plan depends on you. Help me meet with your father. I want to discuss a cooperation with him. Although full of curiosity, Zhou Yun had always been loyal. My parents' 25th wedding anniversary is coming up. Come directly to my house when it's time. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhou Yun keenly sensed that people around them were constantly glancing their way. So she lowered her voice and said, Sister, have you noticed everyone is looking at us? Just then, the salespeople's discussion could be heard. He's still brazenly shopping at the mall at this time, not afraid of being mobbed by the Movie King's fans. But the Movie King's taste is really good. Did you see her long legs? I thought they were photoshopped in the picture. Suddenly, a voice interrupted them. What picture? The salespeople immediately stood there, looking embarrassed. A photo had been circulating in their circle. Cold Yunchi glanced at her phone. She felt that in this life, she seemed destined to clash with fan circles. Having just sent off Chibashin's fans, she now encountered the movie king Liang Ruolin's fans. Before she could speak, the salespeople immediately started changing the subject. Please don't be angry. We just think you match well with the movie king. Why are you reacting so strongly? Some female celebrities in the industry want to ride on your popularity, but they can't even make a splash. Before they could finish, Cold Yunchi's laughter interrupted them. So, I should thank these fans who are cursing me for noticing me? The two hurriedly apologized. Zhou Yun stood to the side, trying hard not to laugh. Don't be angry. Look on the bright side, sister. Being linked to a movie king is a kind of blessing too. Cold Yunchi looked at her expression of enjoying the drama and said, You want this blessing? I'll give it to you. Of course I want it. Someone like Liang Ruolin, Zhou Yun was saying. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Perfect, sister, look. Now that's a perfect man. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Yuma had already walked over. We meet again. Cold Yunchi was stunned for a moment, then smiled. What a coincidence, Mr. Xiao. Xiao Yuma lazily spoke. Indeed, quite a coincidence. The last time I met you, your photo was trending. His magnetic voice carried a hint of teasing. This time we meet, your photo is trending again. But it seems you've changed partners. The man's mood seemed a bit off. Zhou Yun beside her couldn't help but cover her mouth. Why do I smell jealousy? Cold Yunchi didn't expect Mr. Qiao to care about trending topics. Xiao Yu. When Ene with tilde 1/4 Wa created humans, she probably just casually molded others. But for this one, she must have spent at least 10 days to half a month before reluctantly finishing. How can someone be so handsome and have such a good voice at the same time? Zhou Yun stood to the side, almost going crazy with excitement. I ship it. There must be something between them. Cold Yunchi thought to herself that Xiao Yuma cared neither about trending topics nor about her. So she blurted out, Is Qiao Corporation going to acquire Dianbao? Xiao Yuma's lips curled into a smile as he lightly coughed. No such plans at the moment. Zhou Yun beside them felt she had been restraining herself for a long time. However, since this handsome guy appeared, his attention had been entirely on her sister, not even sparing her a glance. She accidentally made a sound, and only then did their attention turn to her. Don't mind me. Pretend I'm not here. Please continue. Cold Yunchi was startled, only then realizing that her beauty-obsessed sister had been acting as heir beside them for a long time. She couldn't help but smile and introduce them. This is my good friend Zhou Yun, the heiress of Zhou Entertainment. This is Mr. Qiao Yuma, the head of the Qiao family. Zhou Yun had seen many comments online today, saying her sister and the movie king looked good together. But now seeing this, with such a main wife present, no wonder Yunchi wasn't interested in actors or movie kings. Xiao Yuma wanted to help Cold Yunchi deal with the trending topic issue. However, Cold Yunchi refused, saying she could handle such a small matter herself. At this moment, the assistant reminded Xiao Yuma that there were still stores to inspect. Reluctantly, Xiao Yuma could only say goodbye to the two and leave. Then Zhou Yun's soul-searching questions began. Sister, that's the legendary Xiao Yuma. Such a big shot chatting casually with you. What exactly is your relationship? Tell me quickly. Cold Yunchi couldn't resist and had to confess everything. Meanwhile, in the set's rest area, Kadao found Liang Lulin's manager Wei Yu. Have you seen the rumors about Little Liang and Miss Cold? Quickly issue a clarification statement. Wei Yu thought, you're the boss when it comes to making movies, but you're not good at fan culture. If they come out to explain for Miss Cold at this time, everyone will believe that he indeed has a close relationship with Liang Luolin. Moreover, if they rush to clarify, people will think they look down on Miss Cold. And what about angering the Cold family? Luolin is still in the rising stage of his career. After hearing Wei Yu's explanation, Kadao was stunned for a moment. Don't be so hesitant. The urgent matter is to stop fans from continuing to insult Miss Cold. She hasn't even started acting yet. If she gets annoyed by fans and quits, all our efforts will be in vain. Quickly issue a statement. I will release one on behalf of the crew along with you. Let's try to minimize the negative impact. But when he looked at the hot search again, the public opinion had changed, because someone had done PR before them. On the other side, Cold Yunchi saw Zhou Yun busy and asked if she had something urgent. It's nothing. I just had the Zhou Group's PR department by some water army to help suppress it for you. The hot search has already dropped, and the public opinion has been redirected by the water army. Although she could easily solve this matter herself, she was still grateful that her best friend helped her. Zoyan also told her, just now, Ku Dao and Liang Yingdi also issued statements to clarify for you. Come and see quickly. After reading, Zhou Yun laughed excitedly. These Qilins have always been so combative, tearing into whoever they want. This time they've been taught a lesson by the boss, and can't be so arrogant anymore. Zhou Yun watched her friend's fans skyrocket, soaring like a rocket, and couldn't help but sigh. Is this you? Before even entering the Jianghu is already full of your legends. Sister, do you know how envious those little girls who dream of entering the circle and becoming stars are of your fan count? And you still look disdainful. Seeing her friend's expression of eating melon and not minding the trouble, Cold Yunchi suddenly felt that this Jianghu wasn't quite suitable for her. After bantering with Zhou Yun for a bit, Cold Yunchi turned her attention to the new products in the store. Buy what you like. I'll pay. Zhou Yun was addicted to shopping and interested in it at any time. So the two of them went through the new products they were interested in as if they were buying vegetables. The two salesgirls watched eagerly, from initial shock to later fear and trembling, and finally to excitement. They had thought they had offended a big spender, but unexpectedly, there really were such forgiving and generous people in the world. The two salesgirls hurriedly packed up their products. Cold Yunchi just casually glanced at it, then took out a black card. The driver will come to pick it up later. The salesgirl looked excited, calculating the commission for this amount in her mind. Unexpectedly, Cold Yunchi suddenly paused and said to another salesgirl in the store, "Excuse me, could you come over and help me check out? The commission for this sale will be yours." However, the smiles on the faces of the two salesgirls suddenly froze. Cold Yunchi smiled foolishly at the two of them. I'm not some easy target. She had given them hope, but at the last moment, she suddenly slammed on the brakes, brutally bursting their bubble. This huge sense of disappointment was worse than if she had been cold to them from the beginning. But who told these two to badmouth people behind their backs from the start? Tracing it back to the root, they deserved it. After leaving the store, Zhou Yun directly gave Cold Yunchi a thumbs up. You're really the best at tearing into people's hearts. Her friend was really not on the same level as her. No wonder she wanted to discuss cooperation as soon as they met. A string of thoughts flashed through Zhou Yun's mind like Danmu. As they were chatting, they saw Xiao Yuma standing not far away, waving at them. Just finished work, care to join me for a meal? Zhou Yun, who had been trying to maintain a cool demeanor like Cold Yunchi all along, finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He didn't expect Xiao Yuma to come looking for him specifically. While waiting, Xiao Yuma spoke first. I heard you're preparing to act in a movie. Weren't you supposed to take over your mother's company? Why suddenly switch to the entertainment industry? Xiao Yuma didn't believe he would do this without reason. After all, he certainly didn't need the money from acting. Cold Yunchi hadn't expected him to be so concerned about this matter. After a brief thought, he replied directly, I received news this morning that Xiao Ran is planning to expand his missing business into the entertainment industry. Xiao Yuma's eyes suddenly darkened. He paused for a moment, then looked at him intently. Are you trying to get revenge on the person you blindly fell for? Zhou Yun initially thought their conversation was quite normal. But upon hearing this, her mind started racing uncontrollably. It turned out this original partner even knew so much about her sister's love history. Compared to Zhou Yun's excited face, Cold Yunchi was so embarrassed hearing this that he wished he could close his eyes and pretend to be socially dead. He mustered up his courage. He poured a drink and handed it to Xiao Yuma. Actually, there's another reason. This movie is invested by Zhou Yun's family. They haven't found a satisfactory actor yet. I'm just lending a hand. Xiao Yuma calmly took the glass from him. His eyes were full of amusement. He let out a low hum and said, I'm afraid there's more to it than that. Cold Yunchi suddenly curved his lips. His gaze met Xiao Yuma's directly. With focused eyes, the previous awkwardness and teasing instantly vanished. I plan to use this opportunity to test the waters, to see the profit model of the entertainment industry. Xiao Yuma looked at those eyes that were no longer hiding anything. At that moment, his heart felt like it had been gently struck. It wasn't heavy, but it made his fingertips tingle. He had never imagined that when the little fox stopped playing tricks and showed his true face, it would be like this. It was truly captivating. Xiao Yuma finally couldn't help but smile. You're not just planning to be Xiao Ran's roadblock, but you're also preparing to shake up Zhang Corporation's future plans. Hearing this, Cold Yunchi replied, Why not? Zhou Yun, who had been forced to be a bystander, opened her mouth eagerly. At this point, she was completely stunned. Weren't they talking about the movie? What were they discussing now? Jean Corporation has never been involved in the entertainment industry. Are you sure this isn't too risky? Xiao Yuma's eyes lost their previous amusement. For once, he was being serious. For ordinary people, this plan of his was no different from not having learned how to manage the company normally, yet already eager to break free and start running wild. For a newcomer in the business world, this was nothing short of taboo. At this moment, Cold Yunqi's eyes sparkled. If a company doesn't dare to innovate, then it's not far from bankruptcy. Isn't that what Xiao Xiao understands well? He raised his glass. After all, during my visit to Xiao Xiao's company, I learned quite a bit from your business operations department. Looking at Cold Yunqi now, for some reason, Xiao Yuma really wanted to see how far he could go. That day, he received a text from Zemin asking him to go racing at the club. So he and Zhou Yun sped to their destination. Just as they parked the car, they heard a whistle from not far away. They looked up and saw Zemin standing in the front row, followed by a group of young men and women. At that moment, they were all staring at his car with shining eyes. Some even started urging him to give a demonstration. As soon as the words were spoken, cheers erupted all around. It was well known that while Cold Yunqi's driving skills might not be the best, his fearless spirit when racing was the most thrilling. He hadn't expected that bringing the car for these people to test drive would end up trapping himself. He slowly started the car. In his ears were the excited laughs and chatter of the crowd. He stepped on the gas. A blur flashed by. The crowd couldn't help but let out wild screams. Did Yunqi cheat? This can't be real. Everyone's faces were full of disbelief. The next moment, the speeding car came from afar. With a loud roar, it appeared in front of everyone with an inertial drift. Cold Yunqi took off his helmet. His long hair messily scattered in the air. Everyone excitedly gathered around. Cold Yunqi looked at the crowd's excitement with amusement. Just as someone asked for water, a bottle of water appeared in front of him. Then, a handsome face came into view. We meet again. At that moment, Little Red Riding Hood, Zemin suddenly put his arm around the boy's shoulders. Let me introduce you. This is my cousin Ziyu Daijing, a top student in the university's data science department. The campus heartthrob that countless girls dream about. He's a junior this year. At this moment, Ziyu's gaze was quietly fixed on his face. It was an undeniable intensity. Second time we meet. Can I know your real name this time? He took the water from the boy, thanked him, and said his name was Yunqi. At this point, Zemin suddenly looked at Yunqi with confusion. How do you two know each other? And what's with Little Red Riding Hood? Is there a big bad wolf too? Cold Yunqi was speechless. He glared at him, then explained that they had met by chance. Zemin was originally prepared to stir up trouble, but seeing his cold glance, he instantly backed down. Then he pulled his cousin aside and whispered, "Tell me honestly, what are you thinking? Because from the beginning, your eyes haven't left Cold Yunqi's face." "I'm being subtle. I want her to be my girlfriend." Zemin was shocked. He quickly covered his mouth with his right hand, warning him not to have designs on just anyone. He asked if he knew that Qi Luoshan had offended Cold Yunqi recently, causing the Qi family to collapse. Seeing Ziyu's serious expression, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. With Cold Yunqi's background, she's seen all kinds of people. She's always had high standards. Before, she only had eyes for Xiao Ran. Now, even Xiao Ran isn't good enough for her. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hearing this, Ziyu's face stiffened. Then he looked at Cold Yunqi, who was surrounded by admirers. This junior's gaze is so passionate. If I hadn't seen your silver fox yesterday, I'd definitely be rooting for this handsome boy, Zhou Yun said regretfully. These words instantly made Xiao Yuma's image appear in Cold Yunqi's mind. Unconsciously, a sweet blush spread across his cheeks. Zhou Yun looked at her friend with amusement. He was slightly taken aback. What do you mean by original partner? Don't say such things. It was just one rumor. How did it become so intimate in your words? By the way, the class monitor just sent a message in the group chat. There's a gathering at a club on Saturday at 7 p.m. Let's go together. Ziyu, standing not far away, happened to overhear this information. Cold Yunqi had just agreed when he suddenly felt like a figure flashed by in the distance. Zhou Yun noticed and asked what was wrong. Cold Yunqi paused for 2 seconds. He shook his head casually. It's nothing. I might have seen wrong. I just felt like someone was standing there. Meanwhile, a middle-aged man dialed Xiao Ran's number. He made a mistake, but instead of apologizing to young Master Qiao, he kept trying to take shortcuts. Where was his brain? On the day of the class gathering that Saturday, the White Lotus approached him again. Cold Yunqi arrived, at the gathering place as promised. As soon as he entered, Zoyun immediately gave a thumbs up. She had to admit, his outfit appearing in a bar was truly amazing. The classmates at the booth couldn't help but murmur. Everyone at school must have been blind back then. How was Cold Yunchi only the class beauty? No wonder the campus heartthrob chased after him in freshman year. Too bad, he only got a just friends card in the end. Cold Yunchi waved his hand dismissively. That's ancient history. How do you still remember it so clearly? What do you mean? Don't tell me you've forgotten about Qi Luoshan. Wasn't she targeting you because she liked the campus heartthrob? As Zhou Yun said this, suddenly, a figure rushed up to them. Without a word, he grabbed Cold Yunchi's hand and begged him desperately to spare his family. People really shouldn't be exterminated. Just as they were thinking about that campus heartthrob, Qi Luoshan appeared. Cold Yunchi looked at his hand in disbelief. Did this person take some kind of strength pill? He was using so much force. The key was that his face was sallow as he grabbed his hand, and his words were so pitiful. People who didn't know the situation might think he had bullied him or something. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been used by that woman Sun Yin. But my family is innocent. As long as you're willing to spare me, I can kneel down for you. Everyone looked at Qi Luoshan. How did he become so haggard? Is the Qi family really at a dead end now? Then everyone looked at Cold Yunchi. Although Qi Luoshan was wrong first, was it necessary to involve the entire Qi family? Wasn't this going a bit too far? Qi Luoshan didn't care what people around were saying. He just kept grabbing desperately. Cold Mingqi thought to himself, since you dared to let young Master Qiao deal with the Qi family, would you dare to refuse this pitiful person's desperate plea in front of so many people? He looked at Cold Mingqi eagerly. The force on his hand was getting stronger and stronger. Cold Yunchi looked at his already reddened wrist. His voice even carried a hint of anger as he said, "Let go." Everyone felt a chill down their spines. He violently shook off Qi Luoshan's hand. Then he slowly turned his head to look at him. While he was still in shock, Cold Yunchi took out a wet wipe. He wiped Qi Luoshan's face roughly. Qi Luoshan was stunned. His sallow face gradually revealed its original appearance. Everyone couldn't help but gasp. So this makeup was painted on to look gray. They had sympathized with him for a second, just now. What a world-class schemer. Cold Yunchi threw away the wipe in his hand. Coming out to play the victim, and you don't even know to use better powder. Aren't you afraid of ruining your face? And you're not only pure, Uncle Qi doesn't know by now that it wasn't our family who made the move, right? Qi Luoshan, who was caught off guard, suddenly stiffened. This expression was no different from a confession without being beaten. Cold Yunchi smiled knowingly. So knowing it was young Master Qiao's order, you still came to cry and beg me in front of all our old classmates, looking like you're in a desperate situation. How can you pick on the weak? You think because I didn't make a move, I'd be easier to talk to? Qi Luoshan shrank back guiltily. You're so close with young Master Qiao. As long as you're willing to speak up for our family. Before he could finish, Cold Yunchi coldly interrupted him. You mean you want me to apologize on your behalf? Qi Luoshan, is your surname Cold? Qi Luoshan didn't understand his meaning. You don't share my surname. Where do you get the nerve to ask me to apologize for you? Cold Yunchi thought the other's logic and ethics knowledge should be completely overhauled. Looking at Qi Luoshan, who unconsciously lowered his head, the classmates sitting nearby were all speechless. How could this person be so shameless? By the way, who exactly is this young Master Qiao that even the Qi family can't match up to? After being stunned for a long time, Qi Luoshan finally understood Cold Yunchi's words. His face flushed red and white. The usually sharp-tongued person couldn't utter a single word. He originally thought that by lowering himself to beg in front of so many people, Cold Yunchi, no matter how proud, would be afraid of being criticized for being cold-blooded and kicking a classmate when they're down, who knew the other party wouldn't play by normal rules at all. Just then, Ziyu walked over. Looking at the woman crying her eyes out next to Cold Yunchi, he didn't even glance at her. He stared straight at Cold Yunchi and asked if he needed help. Cold Yunchi declined his kind offer. Then he turned back to look at Qi Luoshan. Why aren't you leaving yet? Are you waiting for me to invite you to dinner? But looking at your face makes me lose my appetite. Finally, amid the speechless expressions of their old classmates, Qi Luoshan left crying. With the campus heartthrob sitting on the right and the business world's overlord on the left, this really lived up to the saying having both looks and money. This is the legendary love triangle. isn't it? Seeing that Ziyu's face had turned red, Zoyun immediately moved over to make room. She gave the empty seat on cold Yunqi's left to her little junior. Immediately, a group of gossip flames ignited. Because someone recognized him as the campus heartthrob from the math department, they asked cold Yunqi to honestly explain how she knew this campus heartthrob. Meanwhile, half a head peeked out from not far away. This won't do. Someone is actually flirting with sister-in-law behind Brother Qiao's back. He immediately called Qiao Yuma. Brother Qiao, it's bad. Sister-in-law is being passionately pursued by a hot guy at the bar. If you don't come now, your wife will run off with someone else. Qiao Yuma paused for a second on the other end. After Ziyu sat down, his mood gradually relaxed a bit, so he casually poured a glass of wine for cold Mingqi. However, cold Mingqi hadn't made a move yet. At this moment, a long and powerful hand swept through the air, gently pressing down on his glass. A tall figure blocked the light in front of cold Mingqi. The next second, a low, hoarse voice gently brushed past his ear. Didn't you say you shouldn't drink when you're just recovering from a serious illness? That's the excuse you used to refuse my toast at the birthday party. The booth area suddenly became noisy again. Everyone looked at the man who suddenly appeared in front of cold Yunqi. Isn't this Xiao Ran? He came to find cold Yunqi. Didn't they say back then that no matter how cold Yunqi pursued him, there was no response? Just passing by. Mind if I join? He had someone follow cold Yunqi that day, so he knew about today's classmate gathering. He wanted to understand why cold Yunqi insisted on getting involved even after knowing he was entering the entertainment industry. He wanted to know what exactly she was up to. Cold Yunqi didn't respond. The air suddenly filled with an inexplicable flavor. Everyone was still immersed in the shock of being able to interact with a big shot at such close proximity one day. The whole class looked at cold Yunqi with magical expressions, not knowing whether to admire or envy. Only Zhou Yun had a complex expression, stuck in the middle, looking particularly out of place. No one knew better than Zhou Yun how much cold Yunqi now disliked the person in front of her. So what the hell happened today? First the campus heartthrob, then Xiao Ran. The collision was so thorough. However, the angriest person in the room wasn't him, but Ziyu sitting on cold Yunqi's left. The more he looked, the more it seemed like rivals meeting and turning red with jealousy. Is this what they call a love polygon? Seeing the atmosphere cool down, the class monitor quickly found a relatively safe topic. Senior, I heard that Sharon's market value has skyrocketed again this year. Congratulations. We're all from the same school. No need to be so formal. I haven't been back to the alma mater for a long time. You're having a class reunion today, right? Seeing the big shots so easygoing, everyone immediately responded. They talked about the purpose of today's gathering one by one, gradually relaxing in their speech. They even mentioned some interesting stories from their school days. Xiaoran made an O sound. So, this is what Yunqi was like in school? This tone sounded like he was particularly interested in cold Yunqi's school days. The group's gossip fire burned fiercely once again. Without realizing it, they were led to talk more about interesting stories surrounding cold Yunqi. Ziyu didn't interject. He was also very curious about every little detail of cold Yunqi before they met. Every bit of cold Yunqi. At this moment, Xiao Ran's brows furrowed slightly. The cold Yunqi in these students' mouths was quite similar to the image he had investigated before. So her personality changed dramatically after falling into the water once? If cold Yunqi was still wondering why Xiao Ran would appear here at the beginning, now the answer was clearly laid out on the table. He was probing her background. Mr. Xiao, do you like prying into my privacy so much? If you have any questions, why not ask me directly? The crowd that had been chatting enthusiastically suddenly came to an abrupt halt. At this moment, they suddenly realized one thing. Cold Yunqi, the protagonist, had been sitting right here all along. If the great Xiao really wanted to know everything about Yunqi's past, he could just ask her directly. Why did he have to deliberately chat with them in front of her? The celebrity's aura was so strong that they only realized at this moment that they had just been tricked into revealing information. If cold Yunqi hadn't pointed it out, they wouldn't have even noticed it themselves. The smile on Xiao Ran's face gradually faded. His gaze fixed on cold Yunqi's face. If I ask, will you answer? That depends on what you ask, cold Yunqi shrugged. Her face looked innocent and naive, but her eyes were unfathomable. It was impossible to connect her with the past that everyone had just been talking about. Since he had brought it up, Xiao Ran decided to be straightforward. After our phone call that day, you immediately agreed to act in the movie. Can you tell me why? Cold Yinchi smiled. Although she looked down on Xiao Ran's character, his business acumen was indeed very sharp. Such a small thing had made him wary. This is the first movie Zhou Yun has officially invested in, and director Ke sincerely invited me. So I agreed. Such a straightforward reason was very strange to Xiao Ran, but he couldn't find any evidence that Cold Yinchi was lying. Is that so? He said ambiguously, suddenly leaning closer. Their distance instantly became so close that their breaths intermingled. He could see his own reflection in Cold Yunqi's pupils. Mr. Xiao seems very unhappy about me acting in the movie. The light fell on his face. Though it was a warm, golden glow, at this moment it made people hold their breath involuntarily. Even my family didn't say a word against it. In what capacity is Mr. Xiao unhappy? Xiao Ran was stumped by Yunqi's question. For a moment, he couldn't refute. Xiao Ran, what are you doing? A noble and precious voice suddenly came from behind the crowd. In an instant, the crowd who had been staring at Xiao Ran and Cold Yunqi's face-off had their attention diverted. They turned their heads to look at the speaker. When Cold Yunqi saw Xiao Yuma, she showed a rare expression of surprise. The crowd eagerly watched the dialogue between the initial three people. It gradually turned into a one-on-one conversation between Xiao Yuma and Cold Yunqi. Cold Yunqi answered his earlier question. Our class is having a reunion here. We happened to run into Mr. Xiao. Xiao Yuma's gaze naturally fell on Xiao Ran, as if he had just noticed him. Mr. Xiao was in a good mood. Coming back to the university town to reminisce about student days, Xiao Ran twisted his lips. Compared to Xiao Yuma's tailored casual wear, his suit that he came straight from the office and didn't look at all like he had come specially to reminisce about the past. He took a deep breath, regaining his usual social circle demeanor. I just happened to come here with a friend to catch up and ran into Cold Yunqi, so we chatted for a bit. Xiao Yuma seemed not to notice his subtle expression and nodded casually, as if these few words of small talk were the most attention he would give Xiao Ran. At this moment, his attention was completely on Cold Yunqi. Did Xiao Ran just give you trouble? Cold Yunqi said, It's nothing. I can handle it myself. The next second, Xiao Yuma suddenly reached out to touch her cheek. You've been drinking. Your face is a bit red. Did you drive here yourself today? Cold Yunqi's face instantly turned redder. She shook her head, wanting to say she didn't drive herself, that the family driver had sent her specially, so there was no need to worry about drunk driving. However, before she could speak, Xiao Yuma nodded lightly. Then I'll give you a ride on my way. I'd be worried otherwise. Are you going to stay and play a bit longer, or leave now? Cold Yunqi felt she had already provided these gossip-hungry classmates with wave after wave of topics for discussion tonight. Staying would only result in being surrounded and questioned about various rumors. So she nodded and waved to everyone. I have plans tomorrow. You guys enjoy yourselves. But the most powerful person in the business world, the head of Xiao Corporation, was left aside by Cold Yunqi like a transparent bubble. When did Xiao Yuma, who had always been aloof, become so close with Cold Yunqi? Just as they were getting into the juicy gossip, the main character suddenly disappeared. Everyone couldn't help but quietly take out their phones. They lined up in an orderly fashion to bombard the group chat. When Cold Yunqi got into Xiao Yuma's car, her phone was vibrating like it had Parkinson's disease. After a short while, she opened the WeChat group. Sure enough, the whole class was frantically tagging her. After getting out of the car, Xiao Yuma couldn't help but glance at her. What are you looking at? Your phone hasn't stopped the entire ride. Cold Yunqi guiltily put away her phone. It was just her classmates chatting about some meaningless gossip. Xiao Yuma asked again if Xiao Ran came specifically for her tonight. Cold Yunqi was very clear about Xiao Ran's intentions. He probably knew she was going to get involved in the entertainment industry and was afraid she would get in his way. Xiao Yuma glanced at him, feeling he was underestimating Xiao Ran too much. He decided to be straightforward. After all, Xiao Ran had been in the industry for so many years, with experience and methods that couldn't be taken lightly. Although he was smart, his foundation wasn't stable. Against the Xiao group, he probably wouldn't have the advantage. Xiao Yuma paused for a moment. Feeling his words might have hurt his confidence, he chuckled and asked if he needed help. Cold Yunqi calmly looked at him. The assistance of the Qiao family head was indeed remarkable. But the next second, he burst out laughing. His cunning gaze carried a hint of playfulness. Combined with his exquisitely handsome face, it was simply impossible to look away. Since they were going to face off, of course, it would be more fulfilling to do it personally. Since he dared to cut in front of him, he wasn't prepared to back down. I'm returning to Shanghai tomorrow to meet with our family's big supporter. Thanks for sending me back tonight. I'll head in now. After saying this, he turned around, but the smile on his face instantly disappeared. What's the point of using someone else's power to suppress others? He wanted to personally crush Xiao Ran's pride, the Xiao group, under his feet. His grandfather's revenge, his trampled feelings in his past life. Xiao Ran would have to pay back every bit. Xiao Yuma watched as he walked step by step into the villa area. His hostility towards Xiao Ran was truly undisguised. What grudge was there between them? For a moment, he found himself looking forward to it, because it had been a long time since such interesting people and events had appeared. The next day, Cold Yunchi boarded her family's private jet and arrived in Shanghai. Just as she got off the plane and entered the tomb, it was completely a European-style vintage manner. Indeed, the world of the rich, a top-tier private jet and luxurious manner. She sincerely sighed at this decadent lifestyle of the ultra-wealthy. She liked her grandmother talking happily about everyday life, wearing a qipao with silver hair, smiling so much that even the crow's feet at the corners of her eyes showed joy. Nanan, are you tired from the flight? You look thinner. Eat more. The birthday gift Grandma prepared for you earlier. It wasn't convenient to bring to Beijing. I'll take you to see it tonight. You'll definitely like it. Thank you, Grandma. The old man sat in his seat, carefully looking at Cold Yunchi. Your grandmother has been talking about you for days. Tonight, after we see the gift, we'll go directly to Jiangnan Mansion. Grandpa will introduce you to a few people then. Cold Yunchi looked at her smiling grandmother, then at her mother who was covering her mouth and chuckling softly. Three handsome men unconsciously appeared in her mind. It's not the old man's tone of speaking, but why does it sound so much like he's taking me to a matchmaking session? Cold Yunchi was wearing a custom-made qipao today. Her waist was slender, her figure upright, her posture graceful, making it hard for people to take their eyes off her. Grandmother held her hand. This house, Grandma managed to buy from an old friend with great difficulty. I had it specially modified according to your preferences. The moment the door opened, a full view of Republican-era Shanghai style rushed in. Looking around, it was like traveling through time and space, instantly arriving at the most splendid old times of Shanghai. The flower room was full of bright red roses, and the distant sunset was spectacularly colorful. Yet this place seemed like a specially carved-out paradise, beautiful to the point of regret. Cold Yunchi took a deep breath. This location, this type of building is not something that can be bought just with money, let alone wealth. The status required must be incredibly high. How much effort must it have taken to persuade the owner to sell? Nanan, do you like Grandma's gift? The old lady looked at her with a tender and kind expression, afraid of missing even the slightest change in her expression. I love it. Cold Yunchi thought and thought again. She still couldn't understand the old lady's thinking. But Grandma, why did you suddenly decide to give me a house? Didn't you say you were going to work at the company? The old lady smiled, gently smoothing Cold Yunchi's stray hair blown by the evening breeze. She smiled with concern. The family estate is too far. This place is close to the company, with good scenery and location. Our little Yunchi loves to sleep in. We can't have you wasting time on the road. Cold Yunchi couldn't help but marvel. This gift indeed couldn't be sent to Beijing to be unwrapped. Seeing it was about time, the old man walked over smiling. You've seen the gift. It's time to get down to business. Cold Yunchi couldn't help but be curious. On the way here, the old man hadn't mentioned who they were meeting tonight. Soon they arrived at Jiangnan Mansion. As Cold Yunchi got out of the car, she saw someone waiting at the entrance. Grandpa Zhang, Grandma Su, and Zhang, you're here. Grandpa and the others have been waiting inside for a while. After speaking, his gaze fell on Cold Yunchi. You must be Cold Yunchi. I'm Mao Yuping. My grandfather and your grandfather are old friends. You should call me brother. He's only 3 days older than our Yunchi, and he dares to say that? Mao Yuping puffed out his chest slightly. Even 1 day older is older, let alone 3 days. Zhang, you tell me if that's not right. Zhangmin laughed and said, you're right, you're right. They soon reached the private room. Meng Yuping gently knocked on the door. Grandpa Zhang, they're here. Meng Changhong saw them enter and waved them over with a smile. Let Grandpa Meng have a look. The last time I saw you, you were still in elementary school. Cold Yunchi walked over and politely called out, Grandpa Meng. Looking at Cold Yunchi in her qipao, he was stunned for a moment. After a while, he let out a long sigh. Now you're all grown up. Wearing this qipao, you really look like Li Wanfu. Cold Yunchi's gaze suddenly caught a familiar face. She couldn't help but be slightly startled, then politely called out, Uncle Zhou. Hearing Cold Yunchi call him uncle, Zoe Min nodded with a refined smile. I've always heard Zoe Yun mention you, saying you take good care of him at school. Uncle needs to thank you properly. Cold Yunchi smiled and politely declined. We help each other. Besides, Zoe Yun is very good to me too. She had been wondering why someone who usually goes to bed early was suddenly coming with them to Jiangnan Mansion. Turns out they already knew each other. Yunchi saw the old Mr. Mao smiling like an old fox. After the pleasantries, everyone sat down. The conversation gradually became more relaxed. Yunchi is willing to take over the family company. That's ambitious. Not like my son, who thinks about being an absentee boss all day. We may be old, but we've been through a lot. If you need any help, don't be shy with us. Seeing this, Cold Yunchi raised her teacup. Thank you, uncles and grandpas. I'll use tea instead of wine to toast everyone. Everyone at this dinner table tonight was a big shot who could make things happen in S-City. Grandpa and Grandma were helping her establish connections throughout S-City. On the way back to the estate, old Mr. Zhang sighed with satisfaction. To be able to speak confidently in front of these old fellows without backing down, that's my granddaughter all right. Yunchi, we've decided to transfer all our Zhang Corporation shares to you. This is our support for your management of the group and also a challenge. Tomorrow's shareholders meeting will be your first test. Zhang Hafan was a bit worried about his granddaughter's ability to handle the pressure and wanted to reassure her in advance. He wanted to comfort her in advance. Unexpectedly, when Cold Yunchi heard this, she replied, "Why should I be nervous? No matter how tricky those old business foxes are, it all comes down to profit in the end. As long as I can make money for them, who would oppose me?" Zhang Hafan was stunned for a moment. He stared blankly at his granddaughter, at those lively eyes, doubting if he had really gotten too old to keep up with his child's mindset. The next day, in the conference room on the 88th floor of Zhang Corporation, the entire room erupted into chaos. Letting a little girl who knows nothing manage things? What a joke. Is this the end of our Zhang Corporation? The little princess taking over sounds like a recipe for losing money. When it comes to changing equity, shouldn't we try to persuade the old man again? At that moment, Cold Yunchi pushed open the door and entered, scanning the entire room. Then she introduced herself to everyone for the first time. Hello everyone, I'm Cold Yunchi. Cold Yunchi announced 3 things at the board meeting. In 3 months, she would make everyone realize that every point she raised would bring huge profits to the group. As soon as the shareholders meeting ended, she asked her assistant, May, to prepare the latest property information for her. The shareholders left the meeting room and couldn't hold back anymore. 3 months? I think she's dreaming, young and impetuous, thinking she's omnipotent. They only hoped that in these 3 months, reality would slap this heaven's proud daughter in the face. So the shareholders left with gloomy faces. Suddenly, a voice made Cold Yunchi stop in her tracks. Have you heard about Sheyuan Company? I heard the legal representative committed suicide by jumping off a building. When the heir tried to stop it, he died in the street. Everyone's faces showed a hint of schadenfreude. That's serious? How come the media hasn't reported it? Not sure, maybe some big shot suppressed it. I heard several companies are eyeing Sheyuan, waiting to take over. Cold Yunchi returned to her office, her eyes filled with a cold smile. She hadn't expected that besides Xiao Ran, someone else had their eyes on Xiaoyun. Was it for Xiaoyun's remaining value, or was there another reason? At this time, Assistant Mei handed Cold Yunchi the information she requested. Cold Yunchi finally withdrew her thoughts. There's something I need you to investigate. I want to know who's secretly negotiating to take over Sheyuan Company, and Xiao Corporation's attitude towards this company. Whether in public or behind the scenes, I want to know exactly who's on this stage. Although Assistant Mei didn't understand why Cold Yunchi's first order of business after taking over was about Sheyuan Company, which had nothing to do with their own company, she still carefully noted it down. Cold Yunchi sat behind the chairman's desk, calmly looking at the documents in her hand. She absolutely couldn't let her grandfather's life's work fall into someone else's hands. Also, wait for the list I'm screening. We'll go inspect the properties this afternoon. The car arrived at the sales center, and Cold Yunchi got out. She temporarily didn't let Assistant Mei follow, saying she'd call when needed. Then she went straight into the sales hall. The moment she stepped into the sales center, 2 people instinctively put on smiles, ready to greet her. But unexpectedly, they were intercepted halfway. Is this young lady here to view the properties? The sales manager smiled as he approached Cold Yunchi. Cold Yunchi raised an eyebrow slightly. I heard you're launching the last 2 buildings next week. I came to take a look. Seeing a potential customer appear, theoretically, it shouldn't be the manager receiving them. But Cold Yunchi noticed that the 2 sales consultants seemed accustomed to the manager's behavior. Yes, I like the layout of that apartment. Manager Chen had a hesitant look on on his face. He quickly glanced around, discreetly signaling to Cold Yunchi. There are surveillance cameras in the hall. Then he coughed and said, "We have a special rest area in the back. If you're interested, we can talk there." Cold Yunchi suddenly became intrigued. It seemed this undercover visit might catch a big fish. Cold Yunchi chose the middle sofa and sat down. She slightly raised her chin, indicating to Manager Chun that he could get to the point. Manager Chun stared at her, spreading his hands a bit helplessly. "Miss, you don't know, but our project isn't worried about sales at all. The corner unit layout you want is rare. There are over 400 potential buyers ahead of you." Cold Yunchi understood his implication. "So you brought me here to fool me?" Seeing she took the bait, Manager Chin quickly said, "How could that be? You can't buy through normal channels, but the back-end lottery process is actually controllable." Manager Chin smiled, finally revealing the greed in his eyes. He lightly rubbed his index finger and thumb in front of Cold Yunchi. But this would require a different approach. Cold Yunchi casually leaned back on the sofa. "Manager Chun, just say it directly. I'm not short on money. Let's be straightforward." Manager Chin cleared his throat. Smiling, he held up 2 fingers. 200,000, and I can arrange it for you. Don't worry, if you don't get the draw, I'll return the money. The smile on Cold Yunchi's lips had already turned cold. 200,000 to buy a chance to queue. If successful, it's a steal. If not, the money's returned. What a clever scheme. Manager Chin seemed so familiar with this. He must have done it many times before. This woman actually changed the subject. Could it be that she doesn't even have 200,000? Manager Chin's gaze subtly changed. He had found it strange earlier. Indeed, how could such a young girl afford a house here? His eyes unconsciously fell on her ankle. Suddenly, he swallowed and stared greedily at Cold Yunchi's delicate face. "Little girl, is it that your sugar daddy didn't give you enough money? Of course, if you don't want to pay the 200,000, we can arrange something else." That sticky gaze kept moving up from her ankle. Suddenly, a slender finger gripped the man's lecherous hand. "You'll do what?" The voice was light, but extremely cold. Xiao Yuma's entire body was enveloped in a cold aura. The pain in his wrist made Manager Chin's expression twist. "Who are you?" Xiao Yuma ignored him, violently throwing the man away. "Who I am doesn't matter. But you've offended our director Cold, and you're in big trouble." After saying this, he knelt on one knee in front of the woman. "I hope I didn't arrive too late." Every time Xiao Yuma suddenly appeared, Cold Yunchi thought it was just a coincidence. She didn't expect to run into him here as well. Xiao Yuma's answer was, "I heard there were some nice new properties here, so I came to take a look." "Is that really the case?" Manager Chin said, "Don't think you can act recklessly just because your sugar daddy is here. Stop pretending to be a director." Cold Yunchi directly dialed Assistant May's number. "I'm in the lounge." Assistant May didn't expect to receive a call just 5 minutes after Cold Yunchi went in. He quickly rushed towards the sales hall. Many employees curiously followed. "I knew nothing good would come of the manager bringing clients back there." "Keep your voice down. Aren't you afraid of getting on his bad side? We can't afford to offend him. He always cuts our commissions. If this property wasn't selling so well, I wouldn't bother putting up with him." Assistant May suddenly pushed open the lounge door. He was still a bit out of breath from running. Manager Chin's expression froze. Then he quickly put on a polite face. "Assistant May, why are you here? If I had known, I would have greeted you at the door." However, hearing Manager Chin say this, he didn't even give him a glance. Instead, he slowly lowered his head and bowed to Cold Yunchi. "Director, do you have any instructions?" At that moment, Manager Chin looked like a duck with its neck caught. All noise suddenly stopped. Even the sales consultants standing outside the door, intending to tattle, were dumbfounded. Cold Yunchi calmly stood up from the sofa. She gave Manager Chin's terrified eyes a cold glance. "Notify the legal department. Investigate this person thoroughly." "You like taking kickbacks? Prison food tastes better. I'll make sure you eat your fill." Manager Chin's gaze had turned to terror. The moment Assistant May bowed his head, he felt like he'd been hit over the head. His whole body went numb. How could this be? She really was the director. After resolving the matter, Cold Yunchi left with Xiao Yuma. However, Cold Yunchi didn't know that as she left the sales center, she was stepping on the hearts of many. How can such a beautiful woman be so short? She's too cool. Director Cold is my new idol from now on. Leaving the sales center, Cold Yunchi thanked Xiao Yuma for his timely appearance earlier. I didn't expect to run into you here as well. What a coincidence. Xiao Yuma smiled awkwardly. Yes, quite a coincidence. I heard there were some nice new properties here, so I came to take a look. To quickly change the subject, he asked Cold Yunchi where she was heading next, offering to give her a ride. Meanwhile, his phone kept vibrating in his pocket. Hearing such a lame excuse, Cold Yunchi hesitated for a moment, but didn't think much of it. The company would publicize his photo tomorrow. He wanted to inspect a few properties before the employees recognized him. Xiao Yuma said he happened to be off today. If Director Cold didn't mind, would she like an extra escort? After all, the earlier situation was quite concerning. Cold Yunchi was taken aback. Then I'll trouble you, young Master Xiao. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. At this moment, Xiao Yuma's phone was bombarded with messages. Brother Xiao, have you seen sister-in-law? Thanks to me, I saw a sales consultant complaining about their manager on social media today. I noticed the client they lost was sister-in-law. Are you two off enjoying your private time now? That afternoon, Cold Yunchi personally visited 7 properties. By sunset, she and Xiao Yuma arrived at a restaurant. As soon as they sat down, she made another call to Assistant May. Notify all middle management to attend a meeting in the conference room tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. Also, urge the legal department to send the investigation results to my email by 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Assistant May on the other end was stunned. Tomorrow for the legal department? Cold Mingchi smirked, but her eyes showed no emotion. If they can't produce it, they probably won't be able to keep their jobs. They should just hand in their resignations directly. With that, she hung up. Watching Cold Mingchi work so seriously, he greatly admired and liked it. He also felt his worldview was being challenged. Being stared at like this, Cold Yunchi felt awkward. She had been so focused on work that she forgot she was treating someone to dinner as a thank you. So she awkwardly picked up her drink to cover it up. After encountering such a disgusting situation, she didn't go straight home to complain, nor did she return to the company to immediately vent to her superiors. Such composure was terrifying upon reflection. It seemed Director Cold would make some big moves tomorrow. However, while punishment is effective, both rewards and punishments are needed to stabilize people's hearts. This reminder struck Cold Lingchi. Indeed, while cleaning out the company's parasites, it was also time for true talents to rise. This way, the company's personnel authority would be more firmly grasped in her hands. Thinking of this, she raised her glass and expressed thanks to Xiao Yuma, wishing Director Cold success tomorrow. The next day, in the conference room, Manager Jiang noticed the legal department's manager, Zhao, looking uneasy and asked, I heard the legal department was busy all night. Is there some big movement in the company? Manager Jia's sudden silence made him feel even more that something was about to happen. However, before Manager Jiang could inquire further, the conference room doors opened from the outside, revealing Cold Mingchi's clear, penetrating eyes. She walked slowly and deliberately to the main seat. She gestured for Assistant May behind her to distribute the materials. Everyone was puzzled at first, then their faces turned blank. As they looked down, the room instantly fell into dead silence. Cold Yunchi crossed her hands, carefully observing everyone's expressions. After a long while, she smiled slightly. The legal department colleagues worked hard overnight yesterday and uncovered some interesting things. She thought to herself, there were countless small fish like Manager Chen. However, all sources, thinking of this, she continued speaking. Nepotism, bribery, violating work policies, privately accepting large kickbacks. With all this evidence laid out clearly, do you have anything to say in your defense? Sister-in-law? When did your own sister become spoken for? Cold Yunchi looked kindly at Wang Qian with a polite smile. What did you say? I didn't hear clearly just now. At the hotel entrance, Zhou Yun listened to his father exchanging greetings with various guests. Crowds of people passed by in front of him. He now felt that the smile on his face must have become stiff. Just when Zhou Yun felt he couldn't hold on any longer, suddenly a luxury car stopped at the hotel entrance. The next second, Zhou Yun saw a pair of high heels that every woman in the world dreams of, slowly extending from the car. Around them, the gazes of many guests also converged on the woman. Cold Yunchi wore this year's haute couture long dress, wrapping her body. It was as if an artist had painted her stroke by stroke with a palette. All the guests couldn't help but marvel. When Zhou Yun saw clearly who the man was, he instinctively exclaimed, "Oh my God, your mom is here," Mrs. Zhou reflexively replied. Cold Yunchi handed over a gift box, smiling slightly at Mr. and Mrs. Zhou. "Uncle, Annie, happy wedding anniversary." Mrs. Zhou didn't expect that the friend her daughter had been talking about would appear in front of her in this way. She was really too beautiful. Mr. Zhou frowned and looked towards a certain direction. Cold Yunqi also instantly looked towards the direction of the camera flashes. Zhou Yiming looked displeased. This is a private party. Photos are not allowed. Which media are you from? Mr. Zhou, I'm the editor-in-chief of a magazine. Hearing about your silver wedding anniversary, I came specially to congratulate you. Cold Yunqi raised an eyebrow calmly. She remembered this person, the one who almost blew up her phone with unanswered calls. I didn't expect Director Cold to be here too. What a coincidence. Editor Zhang said excitedly, extending his hand. Yunqi nodded but didn't extend her hand. Editor Zhang came uninvited, right? You like to take photos recklessly. Was your previous job as a paparazzi? Editor Zhang's half-extended hand awkwardly dropped. Director Cold is joking. It's just that the atmosphere was so good just now. I couldn't help but take a photo for tonight's report cover to show our congratulations. At this moment, there was not a trace of smile in Cold Yunqi's eyes. The most basic professional ethics of the media is to respect others' privacy rights. Please delete that photo you just took. The gazes of other guests around also glanced over from time to time. Editor Zhang had no choice but to let the photographer delete the photo in front of Cold Yunqi. Director Cold, it was all a misunderstanding. I've long admired you and have always wanted to interview you. Please give us a chance. Even though she wasn't very clear about the inside story, Cold Yunqi sensed something was off. Editor Zhang, I'm very curious. I've only been in S-City for a week and haven't achieved anything. What exactly is worth you pursuing an interview so persistently? The expression on Editor Zhang's face completely froze. He couldn't possibly say this was personally instructed by Mr. Xiao. Without a good explanation, this awkward situation couldn't be resolved at all. He swallowed his embarrassment and squeezed out a smile. You're a young, ambitious, and good-looking entrepreneur. How could you not be qualified for an interview? He barely connected this question. Cold Yunqi didn't believe it at all. So Editor Zhang was looking down on her, clearly just a college student who had just entered society. How could she be so difficult? Editor Zhang's scalp started to sweat, and he subconsciously wanted to continue explaining. Unexpectedly, Cold Yunqi shook her head. I heard that your magazine always interviews based on the interviewee's actual achievements. If you just want to use my age and appearance to attract attention, I'm sorry, but I can't agree. She said this. And if he said anything more, wouldn't others question their magazine's professionalism? He, who made a living by talking, was actually rendered speechless by Cold Yunqi in front of everyone. Seeing him standing there dumbfounded, Cold Yunqi continued. Today's protagonists are Uncle and Annie Zhou. We should know our priorities. Let's not talk about the interview anymore. This incident took less than 5 minutes from start to finish. It happened unexpectedly, but was resolved swiftly and decisively. The younger generation is truly formidable. Zhou Yun gave a thumbs up to Cold Yunqi. Sister, that's why you're the best. Seeing his parents walk to the center of the hall, Zhou Yun finally told Cold Yunqi about his parents arranging a blind date for him today. He had escaped once before because the other party had something come up. Unexpectedly, my parents specially sent out invitations this time. Looks like I can't avoid it tonight. So tonight is not only your parents' silver wedding anniversary, but also your blind date dinner. They clearly know their own daughter won't agree to blind dates, so they're creating conditions to make it happen directly. Zhou Yun expressed that she hasn't had enough fun yet. She can't give up the whole force for just one man. So tonight, I'm counting on you. As long as you stand by my side all night, no matter which guy comes, unless he's blind, he won't be interested in me. Silly child, the people your parents approve of aren't just looking at appearances. They're clearly aiming for families of equal status. Cold Yunqi looked at her smug expression and sympathetically didn't burst her bubble. Just then, Zhou Yu waved at him. Zhou Yun's entire radar went up. The sister challenge has come. You must help me get through this. When the two stood in front of Mr. and Mrs. Zhou, Zhou Yun was practically hanging off Cold Yunqi's arm. The next second, Wang Qian suddenly turned around and blurted out without thinking. Zhou Yun, who was trying to shrink her head into her shoulders, stared blankly at Cold Yunqi, wondering when her sister had become taken. Cold Yunqi looked kindly at Wang Qian with a polite smile. What did you say? I didn't hear clearly just now. Wang Qian suddenly shuddered all over, belatedly realizing that he had just spoken his thoughts without thinking. His first reaction was to pull out his phone and type a message with amazing speed. Ciao bro, help. Little sister-in-law wants Yunqi. Would you like some pudding? Unsolicited favors, ulterior motives. This phrase was perfectly demonstrated by someone. It's really quite educational. Cold Yunqi had mostly calmed down by now. Seeing Wang Qian's state, he couldn't be bothered to care. Dad asked you to come for a blind date. The direct question hit Wang Qian like a ton of bricks. My dad said I have nothing to do, so I might as well settle the marriage matter. Save me from running around everywhere. Just then, Wang Qian's phone dinged. Xiao Yuma's reply on WeChat finally arrived. Are you dead? Wang Qian looked at these 3 words in disbelief. Instinctively, Wang Qian, like a brother tattling to his sister-in-law, directly held the phone up to cold Yunqi's face to show him the evidence. My brother is too much. He actually asked if I'm dead. Cold Yunqi saw nothing wrong with the content. Only, why didn't young Master Qiao refute the little sister-in-law title? Suddenly, Wang Qian's expression changed. His gaze swept over a certain direction behind cold Yunqi. The aggrieved look on his face from just tattling disappeared instantly. Instead, his expression sank. The change in mood was so fast that cold Yunqi and Zhou Yun beside him couldn't keep up. They were puzzled about what had happened. Wang Qian withdrew his gaze. There are 2 clowns. Don't mind them. Caught peeping, the righteous editor Zhang and the photographer immediately became flustered, because the person next to cold Yunqi was the only son of the Wang family in Beijing. Wang Qian glared at the backs of the 2 leaving, then took out his phone and replied to Xiao Yuma. Not dead. Little sister-in-law is being harassed. I'm standing up for her here. Seeing this message, the smile at the corner of Xiao Yuma's lips suddenly disappeared. He stood up abruptly. Luo Jin, arrange a plane to S-City. Cold Yunqi looked at Zhou Yuming. As tonight's main character, many guests were exchanging pleasantries with him. It wasn't convenient to discuss business at this time, so he went to the catering area to get some pastries to pass the time. Then he heard someone behind him say, Young Master Wang, I heard you studied abroad before. I wonder if you could give my daughter some advice. Miss Zhou, I heard you're filming a movie recently. My son loves watching movies. You young people should interact more. Wang Qian and Zhou Yu simultaneously looked at cold Yunqi with pleading faces. Cold Yunqi looked at the time, feeling that leaving at this point wouldn't be impolite, so he kindly rescued them from their predicament. The 2 nodded gratefully. They turned and left the banquet hall. As soon as Zhou Yu came out, she said to Wang Qian, From now on, you're my good brother who's been through hardships with me. Wang Qian replied, Good sister. But let's go now. At this moment, cold Yunqi drove the car up to them. Looking up at cold Yunqi's penthouse, Zhou Yun asked enviously, Does your grandmother need another granddaughter? She could consider me. Wang Qian took out his phone and started taking photos frantically. He immediately posted them in their group chat, tagging everyone. Can you believe it? Cold Yunqi's family gave her this nationally protected building just so she could sleep in before work. Fong Ruotang was the first to reply. Didn't you say you went to S-City for a blind date? How did you end up at her place in the middle of the night? Wei Dong followed up. Late at night, a single man and woman. You're quite daring. Lu has said, You dare to post in this group? Have you considered Xiao's feelings? Seeing the message, Xiao Yuma simply posted a period in the group. Just as cold Yunqi was about to invite them to stay, Wang Qian saw that period and quickly objected. No way, he thought. If Xiao finds out I'm staying at his little sister-in-law's place, that's definitely not okay. Cold Yunqi looked at him puzzled, seeing Wang Qian's face turn ashen. She couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Wang Qian's eyes were panicked and flustered. He then forced himself to calm down. I have a flight home tomorrow. It's more convenient to go back to the hotel. It's late. I'm leaving now. Bye. After saying this, he rushed off to the hotel as if someone had lit a fire under him. When Yunqi checked the time, it was indeed late, so she and Zhou Yun went to rest. The next morning at 10 a.m., she was woken up by Zhou Yun's phone ringing incessantly. The ringtone kept playing over and over, yet someone didn't dare to answer or hang up, causing the sound to echo throughout the entire penthouse. The blind date last night failed. My parents will definitely interrogate me when I get back. Whether I can survive today depends on you. Cold Yunqi thought about the unfinished business from yesterday, thinking they could discuss it today. So she went with Zhou Yun to the Zhou family home. When Cold Yunqi arrived, she deliberately brought a pot of Juliet roses. When she handed it to Mrs. Zhou, the latter's expression clearly showed delight. The person they were preparing to thank had instead brought such an expensive gift. For a moment, they were unusually embarrassed. Zhou Yiming glared at his own dull daughter. Look at this young lady, then look at his own thoughtless child. The more he looked, the angrier he became. The clueless Zhou Yun's expression was quite innocent. Perhaps because his disappointment outweighed his anger, Zhou Yiming couldn't be bothered to scold them anymore. He politely invited Cold Yunqi to sit inside. There were too many guests last night. I didn't have a chance to chat with you properly. I heard from Zhou Yun that you're planning to help with a cameo role in a movie. You're so busy now, don't push yourself if it's too tiring. Cold Yunqi smiled leisurely. Uncle Zhou, I came today precisely to talk to you about this matter. Zhou Yiming was stunned for a moment. He had a vague idea in mind, but wasn't sure if he was thinking correctly. As far as I know, Zhou Corporation currently ranks second among entertainment companies. I wonder if you're interested in surpassing global entertainment to become #1 in the industry. Zhou Yiming originally didn't want to compete for first place, but faced with Cold Yunqi's proposal, he began to consider the possibility of cooperation. Cold Yunqi suggested that he join forces with Zhang Corporation to jointly replace Global Entertainment's position in the entertainment industry. She planned to expand Zhang Corporation to make it a branch of the entertainment industry. Zhou Yiming thought Cold Yunqi's idea made sense. The competition in the entertainment industry is now very fierce. Whether an artist can succeed largely depends on promotion and channels. Compared to global entertainment, Zhang Corporation is slightly lacking in promotion and channels. But Cold Yunqi promised she would make up for this shortcoming. She would provide strong promotional support. Cold Yunqi's words surprised Zhou Yiming. He worried that once they lost the support of major TV stations, traditional media would be greatly impacted. The traffic for new hit dramas and popular variety shows would all be affected. This would have a profound impact on the entire entertainment industry. However, Cold Yunqi expressed confidence in successfully defeating the major TV stations. Cold Yunqi smiled and presented an innovative perspective to Zhou Yiming. He believed that although major TV stations have traditional traffic, young viewers have gradually shifted to other platforms. Cold Yunqi suggested creating a platform that comprehensively covers various aspects of the entertainment industry, including TV series, variety shows, live streaming, interactive games, fashion, and lifestyle. Only through professional and meticulous operation of this platform can it attract more traffic. Zhou Yiming felt that Cold Yunqi's idea was very feasible, but there were indeed many difficulties in execution. First, this project would require a large investment, including connections, technology, promotion, and financing. Cold Yunqi, however, appeared very calm and composed, as if everything was under her control. She continued to explain, as long as we make this platform the best it can be, major TV stations will naturally seek cooperation with us. This is the essence of the capital world. Zhou Yiming was impressed by Cold Yunqi's confidence, but also understood that implementing this plan would have many challenges. However, he was willing to try this innovative idea. Perhaps this would be a new starting point for him. Cold Yunqi smiled easily. She understood Uncle Zhou's concerns. After taking over the company, she first grasped the personnel authority because she wanted not just control over personnel, but also people's hearts. This way, all employees of Zhang Corporation would trust her, making it easier to push projects forward later. Zhou Yiming looked at her with newfound respect. At just 22 years old, she had such skill. He marveled that the Zhang family had produced such an outstanding heir. After finalizing the cooperation intention with Zhou Corporation, Cold Yunqi didn't go straight home. Instead, she asked the driver to stop at a quiet old alley, wanting to take a walk alone. The sun was lazily shining. She squinted her eyes, enjoying this peaceful autumn day. In the afternoon, under the phoenix trees, a mysterious figure gradually approached. Wang Qian, who claimed he was returning to Beijing last night, was only awakened by the doorbell ringing. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Qiao Yuma standing outside. Wang Qian was instantly startled awake. "Brother Qiao, weren't you in Europe last night? How am I seeing you as soon as I open my eyes?" He wondered if he was still dreaming. Qiao Yuma looked at him calmly. "You've grown up, not even replying to my WeChat messages." Wang Qian suddenly remembered the incident about his little sister-in-law being harassed that he posted yesterday. How could he have forgotten about that? He quickly began to explain, "Brother Qiao, I didn't intentionally not reply to you. It wasn't a big deal." Yunqi directly dissed a persistent editor. Qiao Yuma frowned slightly upon hearing the words persistent. Wang Qian wished he could slap himself. "It's not what you're imagining. Don't worry, I'll call little sister-in-law right now. Let her talk to you." Wang Qian quickly dialed cold Yunqi's number. However, the call didn't go through. Wang Qian's initially excited expression gradually stiffened. He couldn't help but look at Xiao Yuma. At this moment, he suddenly truly felt panic. On the other side, the man behind the tree quietly took out his phone to take a photo. But at that moment, cold Yunqi suddenly opened her eyes. She quickly struck the man's neck. Before he could react, his vision went black, and he fell into a state of confusion. When he regained consciousness, he was terrified to find himself tied up, his mouth sealed with black tape, unable to make a sound. Just then, cold Yunqi appeared in front of him, accusing him of being bold but lacking in skill, actually following her in broad daylight. Hearing these words, the tied-up man trembled in fear, struggling desperately. His muffled sound seemed to be begging cold Yunqi to let him go and telling her that all this was ordered by Mr. Xiao. Cold Yunqi quietly observed his panicked and desperate appearance, recognizing him as Xiao Ran's secretary. She recalled how in her previous life, this seemingly loyal man showed his true, disgusting face when no one else was around. Workplace harassment was common. She wondered if he had ever thought he would end up in her hands like this. Seeing the secretary trembling, cold Yunqi casually recounted her own kidnapping experience. I was kidnapped when I was young. Do you know what happened to that kidnapper later? But to prevent such things from happening again, since then, Yuan Xin started learning self-defense. I didn't expect it to come in handy today. The secretary struggled to explain. If the Cold family thought he was kidnapping, he would be finished. Cold Yunqi asked curiously. I heard dogs like to rely on people. I'm quite curious. Who exactly is behind you, giving orders? Do you think that person will plead for you? To my grandfather, saying he sent someone to follow me? Hearing this, the secretary hopelessly stopped struggling. As long as Mr. Xiao pleaded for him, he could clear himself. However, Cold Yunqi's words crushed all his hopes. Mr. Xiao won't say a word. The secretary, who had previously mocked Cold Yunqi as incompetent, now realized he was the stupidest one. Cold Yunqi hadn't intended to hear his confession from the moment she sealed his mouth. Don't worry, Xiao Ran. I'll have my grandfather's people take good care of you. Her grandfather's life, her own revenge, she would take it back bit by bit from Xiao Ran herself. This man, after receiving a WeChat message, actually gave up a high-value contract and hurriedly returned to the country. What information could have made him so panicked? Cold Yunqi returned home to find the usually elegant butler looking very surprised. It turned out that Wang Qian and another gentleman were worried about her safety because her phone had been unreachable. Cold Yunqi recalled that last night, Wang Qian probably thought that editor Zhang was causing trouble again. He must have been worried something happened to her and went to confront the other party. But who was the other person? After returning to her room, she quickly charged her phone. Upon turning it on, she found missed calls from Xiao Yuma and Wang Qian. The caller ID showed Indian actor. Cold Yunqi was slightly startled. She immediately called Xiao Yuma back, explaining that her phone had died and she had just gotten home to charge it. Xiao Yuma, learning that Cold Yunqi was fine, asked if she was free. He and Wang Qian would come over to see her. Cold Yunqi was a bit confused. Wasn't he abroad? How could he come over? Xiao Yuma hung up the phone, his gaze lingering on the phone for a moment. He looked at the terrified editor Zhang, who was holding his head in his hands. You just said that Xiao Ran told you to interview Cold Mingqi no matter what? Editor Zhang hadn't expected his office to be kicked open directly. The next second, a row of men in black directly dropped him in front of this man. Yes, it was all Mr. Zhao's orders. I don't know the specific reason. Editor Zhang blamed Xiao Ran in his heart for getting him into this mess. A cold light flashed in Xiao Yuma's eyes, and he muttered Xiao Ran's name. The two arrived at Cold Yunqi's doorstep. Wang Qian wondered why Xiao Ran would do this. Little sister-in-law seemed to like him before. He couldn't be trying to rekindle an old flame, could he? Wang Qian excitedly shared his guess. But seeing Xiao Yuma's expression, he realized he had said the wrong thing. When Cold Yunqi opened the door, Wang Qian felt like he had just saved his own life. Cold Yunqi, seeing the two, felt a bit guilty and apologetic. Sorry for worrying you. Wang Qian sighed in relief. Yunqi, you scared me to death. My brother couldn't find you and immediately took me to confront people. Thank goodness you're all right. Cold Yunqi expressed her gratitude to Xiao Yuma. She asked curiously, Wasn't young Master Qiao abroad? How did you come back early? Xiao Yuma calmly replied, the company's recent affairs have been progressing well. The overseas negotiations went smoothly. However, Wang Qian couldn't help but think to himself. He had heard from Luo Jin that his brother had left a high-value contract and signed abroad and just turned and left because of that WeChat message. Cold Yunqi invited the two in and offered to treat them to a casual meal. The wingman prince, Wang Qian, said he had other matters to attend to. He quickly left. During the meal, Xiao Yuma told Cold Yunqi that when he called her back in the afternoon, he and Wang Qian had met someone. Cold Yunqi indicated she knew it was editor Zhang from the magazine. Xiao Yuma then told her that editor Zhang said Xiao Ran had instructed him to definitely do an interview with Cold Yunqi. Cold Yunqi expressed disdain for this, believing Xiao Ran only hoped to use mainstream media to flatter her and thereby understand the company's next steps. Cold Yunqi stated she wouldn't fall for such tactics. The man beside her suddenly spoke. Why not guess that he's a scumbag you liked in your naive youth, suddenly deciding to turn over a new leaf? Cold Yunqi scoffed at Xiao Ran's tactics. After a moment's confusion, she realized what he meant. They all said he was a scumbag. How could that be possible? I won't be fooled again. His actions were merely an attempt to inquire about how I developed in the entertainment industry. Cold Yunqi, fearing he would continue, quickly summarized her discovery of Xiao Corporation's market research and plans to enter the entertainment industry to avoid further discussion of her youthful indiscretions. So you plan to partner with Zhou Corporation to limit Xiao Ran's market share in the entertainment industry? Xiao Yuma was surprised by her strategy. No wonder she agreed to Kudao's cameo in the movie and didn't mind the rumors with Liang Yingyu. This showed she had her own plans all along. So he asked Cold Yunqi if this was a transition from love to hate. Cold Yunqi, seeing he misunderstood her as having lingering feelings for someone, couldn't help but laugh. She explained that the entertainment industry has been extremely profitable in recent years. She was just entering the field, and suppressing competitors was just a side effect. Moreover, her grandfather's people had grown lazy and complacent. It was time to reorganize and transform the company. Xiao Yuma had thought her talk of taking over the company was just idle chatter. But now, seeing the look in her eyes, it was a kind of love and dedication to her work. In just a short time apart, she seemed to have many secrets he hadn't noticed before. What else was she hiding? Xiao Yuma asked if she needed help. He silently added Little Fox in his mind, feeling a secret pleasure in knowing her secrets. Cold Yunqi smiled and said it wasn't necessary. This small matter didn't require young Master Qiao's assistance. Xiao Yuma curiously asked what her plans were. Cold Yunqi replied that she would first resolve personnel issues. Zhang Corporation didn't have many media professionals. Tomorrow, the company would begin its annual campus recruitment at major universities. She would take a look. Hearing this, Xiao Yuma suddenly remembered the persistent gaze of the so-called campus heartthrob he saw at the bar last time. I don't have much going on lately. I'll come along with you. Cold Yunqi was surprised. Don't you need to manage your company? You suddenly flew to S-City. Wasn't it because of company business? Xiao Yuma paused awkwardly. He just realized he had flown over from abroad simply because he saw Wang Qian's WeChat message. He couldn't help but chuckle. He seemed to be acting a bit strange lately. Refocusing, he said Luo Jin could handle everything. Yunqi gently raised her teacup in a toast. Then welcome, young Master Qiao. Your presence is an honor. Hearing this, Xiao Yuma recalled when Cold Yunqi had visited his company. How quickly things had changed. He smiled and replied lightly, "It's my pleasure." The glass cup smashed directly onto Xiao Ran's head. "You idiot! What were you thinking, daring to kidnap Cold Yunqi?" Old Master Xiao glared at him, his face turning purple, his chest heaving. "Even Deng Xiaohui called me about this. How do you plan to explain it to him?" After so many years, he had grown accustomed to being superior. He never expected that in his old age he would be scolded to his face, and worse, he couldn't even refute it. "I didn't expect the person to be caught," Xiao Ran said through gritted teeth, his face gloomy. Hearing this, old Master Zhao's barely contained anger flared up again. "Why didn't you investigate properly? That granddaughter of his was kidnapped before. After such an incident, do you think the Cold family will let it go? I told you to form an alliance with the Cold family, not make enemies. Get out and clean up your mess." Xiao Ran left with a grim expression. For so many years, he had been in charge at Xiao Corporation, used to having the final say. He never imagined he'd be scolded by the old master like this. After leaving the old residence, Xiao Ran immediately dialed Cold Yunqi's number. Cold Yunqi was doing a face mask. Seeing the incoming call, she scoffed. She directly hung up and blocked the number. After being scolded by his family's old master, now he wants to come here and act pitiful, begging for forgiveness. Keep dreaming. Cold Yunqi didn't want to waste even a second on him. Seeing his calls repeatedly rejected, Xiao Ran was furious. He angrily smashed his phone. Cold Yunqi, you're really something. The next day, Cold Yunqi had just finished washing up and come downstairs. The butler came to inform her that Xiao Yuma was waiting for her in the dining room. She quickly went to the dining room, feeling a bit embarrassed. I'm sorry. Xiao Ran kept calling me last night, so I turned off my phone. I didn't tell you the time. Sorry for making you come so early. Xiao Yuma paused briefly, his teacup suspended in midair. Xiao Ran kept calling you last night? His gaze fell on Cold Yunqi's face, his tone indiscernible. Cold Yunqi waved her hand dismissively. I don't know what's wrong with him. He sent someone from Beijing to follow me to Shanghai. My grandfather found out. He probably wants to apologize and make amends through me. I can't be bothered with him. Xiao Yuma pondered to himself. So the sudden disappearance of that follower was because old Master Cold had taken control of the situation. No wonder Luo Jin couldn't find any trace yesterday after checking all transportation routes. Cold Yunqi glanced at him curiously. Xiao Yuma's expression seemed a bit off just now. While eating breakfast, she said, "Don't worry about Xiao Ran's matter." Xiao Yuma responded with a simple. Cold Yunqi didn't notice Xiao Yuma's change. She lowered her head, eating breakfast while blocking Xiao Ran's number. She couldn't let that scumbag affect her work. Xiao Yuma glanced over, the corner of his lips curling up slightly. When they arrived at F University and entered the classroom, sudden exclamations erupted. Oh my God, they look so good together. I ship this couple. Even if I have to crawl, I'll squeeze in a Zhang Corporation just to admire their godly looks. Cold Yunqi whispered embarrassedly. People nowadays just love to ship couples. Don't mind them. Xiao Yuma's eyes showed amusement. It's fine. Xiao Yuma sat in the front row. After taking their seats, Cold Yunqi walked up to the podium. Hello everyone, I'm Cold Yunqi. I'm glad you all came to Zhang Corporation's recruitment talk. This year, we're mainly recruiting talents in media-related majors. Real estate is indeed our company's trump card, but our group's motto is to never stop at just that. If you're willing to break through your limits and excel in media and communications, then we warmly welcome you to become part of our group. Now, let's start the Q&A session. Students with questions can raise their hands. As soon as she finished speaking, someone excitedly stood up. May I ask which department you're in charge of? If we can't work with you, we won't come. A chorus of voices chimed in. Yes, we want to work with you. Cold Yunqi smiled at the audience. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I'm the chairman of Zhang Corporation, so no matter which department you're in, you'll be working with me. I hope this answer satisfies everyone. The audience was silent for a moment, then erupted in cheers. Xiao Yuma was also pleased. The little fox was quite good at improvising. After the recruitment talk, the group left the lecture hall. They ran into F University's chairman, Principal Wei. As far as he knew, F University's principal was an academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. He had long been engaged in vacuum micro-nano-electronics research and had led many major national scientific research projects. Meeting him here was quite rare. Principal Wei chatted with Xiao Yuma for a while, then turned to Cold Yunqi. She introduced herself as Cold Yunqi. Principal Wei's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but look back and forth between Xiao Yuma and her. Yang Jio softly exclaimed. Talented people emerge in every generation. As they were chatting, suddenly a young man approached and softly called out, Dad. Principal Wei smiled and introduced his son to Xiao Yuma and Cold Yunqi. This is my son, Wei Cheng. He just graduated with a master's degree in finance from abroad this year. These two are. Just as Principal Wei was about to introduce them, Wei Cheng stepped forward with a smile, taking out his phone. I know, Miss Cold. Your recruitment talk video has gone viral on the campus network. I wonder if I could submit a resume to Director Cold. I saw that your company has a position for chairman's assistant. I'd like to give it a try. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere around them suddenly turned strange. Xiao Yuma slowly narrowed his eyes. His eyelids lifted slightly, his gaze falling quietly on Wei Cheng's face. Cold Yunqi, however, didn't notice. After hearing what he said, she was actually a bit tempted. If Mr. Wei is willing, you're more than welcome. Wei Qing didn't expect it to go so smoothly. His elegant and refined face showed a hint of pleasant surprise. Thank you very much, Miss Cold, for giving me this opportunity. Xiao Yuma's face beside them grew darker. Assistant? Wouldn't that mean they'd be inseparable at the company every day? Principal Wei just said you studied finance. Xiao Yuma suddenly spoke up, taking a step closer to Cold Yunqi. Wei Chun was taken aback. He nodded. Yes, both my bachelor's and master's degrees are in finance. Then you should focus on your area of expertise. The assistant role is more administrative-oriented. It's not suitable for showcasing your professional skills. I think, considering your future career planning, you might want to consider the securities department or marketing department. Xiao Yuma looked at him calmly, his reasoning logical and his expression natural. Wei Qing thought for a moment. Indeed, he hadn't considered it thoroughly before. So he gratefully said, "Thank you, Mr. Qiao, for your guidance." Cold Yunqi suddenly turned her head oddly to look at Xiao Yuma. Luo Jin was a top law student. Why didn't he suggest the legal department for him to shine? Only Xiao Yuma knew in his heart. You're still too green to compete with me for someone. Principal Wei felt like he had discovered a secret. He gave Xiao Yuma a meaningful look, his face showing amusement. He pulled his son aside and said to the two, Wei Chung and I have some matters to attend to. We won't disturb you two further. Wei Chung gave his father a strange look, but was pulled away. Cold Yunqi looked at Xiao Yuma. I need to go back to the company to take care of some things. Should I drop you off at your branch office here? Or do you want to go straight to the hotel to rest? Xiao Yuma looked at her clear eyes, stared for a second, then said, let's go to your company and take a look. Cold Yunqi's expression was a bit surprised. But after thinking about it, she figured he might be concerned since she had just taken over the company. He might want to check if there were any oversights. So she appreciatively took him to Zhang Corporation. As soon as they stepped out of the elevator, they saw a line of people waiting outside her office. Because of last week's reorganization, the entire group's work atmosphere had completely changed. Everyone's face showed obvious ambition. Xiao Yuma had originally planned to help out a bit, but it seemed he had underestimated her. You go ahead with your work. Cold Yunqi nodded apologetically to him. She then began the work report. Cold Yunqi reviewed the documents they submitted while giving concise and clear instructions. Xiao Yuma, sitting on the sofa, watched as Cold Yunqi was surrounded by so many people. Not only was she not flustered, but she handled everything with clear priorities and in an orderly manner. An art major graduate who had never been exposed to the business world. He quietly admired the little fox. Just then his phone suddenly vibrated. Xiao Yuma opened it. It was a message from Luo Jin. Mr. Qiao, we just obtained a surveillance video from yesterday noon on Tonghai Road. You might be interested in taking a look. Then a video was sent over. In the footage, it showed Cold Yunqi kicking that man unconscious. Xiao Yuma's fingers paused, his pupils suddenly contracting. Her movements were swift, yet from beginning to end, they exuded coldness and calmness. Xiao Yuma suddenly recalled what Cold Yunqi had said this morning. Xiaoran sent someone to follow me to Shanghai. My grandfather found out. The cause and effect indeed matched up, but she had omitted the most crucial part. The reason old Master Cole knew about that stalker was that she had personally taken action. This move of grafting flowers onto a tree perfectly avoided everyone's attention. Xiao Ran's side probably didn't even know she was behind everything, even after suffering such a big loss. Xiao Yuma calmed himself for a moment. His gaze towards Cold Yunqi now carried a hint of aggression. Yunqi, I have something to attend to. I'll be leaving first, he stood up and said casually. Cold Yunqi waved at him, and after he left, Cold Yunqi waved her hand at him after. Contact Xiao Yuma again. In the car, Luo Jin reported the situation in detail. How to handle Xiao's video. Seeing his boss's uncontrollable smirk, Luo Jin felt a bit creeped out. Discovering this little-known side of Miss Cold. Is she really that happy? Delete all video information except the one I have. The little fox probably didn't even notice. In this video too, as time passed, someone's mood became increasingly irritable. Every time he called, it was still the same unanswered electronic tone. Xiao Ran's entire demeanor was gloomy. Only Zun Yin dared to approach him. Young master, I've noticed you've been in a bad mood lately. Is something wrong with Miss Cole? Seeing that the secretary had been missing for so long, he vaguely guessed it must be related to Cold Yunchi. If he could help solve this mess, perhaps he could completely turn things around. A glint of ambition flashed in Sun Yan's eyes. Xiao Ran sneered, curling his lip. If the secretary's matter was explained properly, it could be spun as him sending people to protect Cold Yunchi. But it was impossible for him to personally explain to Cold Yunchi. Indeed, someone should be sent over, but Zunyan, he frowned. Cold Yunchi didn't have a good impression of him either. Xiao Ran looked at him clearly. You don't even know what happened, yet you dare to take on this mess? Sun Yin wiggled her slender waist on a Xiao Ran's lap. With a sultry voice, she said, "Of course I don't know, but I see young master is in a bad mood, so I just want to do my small part to help ease your worries." Xiao Ran narrowed his eyes. "If you accomplish this task as I instruct, the secretary position will be yours afterward. Whatever you say, young master. I'll do anything you ask." Sun Yin immediately softened her body, desperately clinging to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran leaned down and whispered instructions in her ear. Sun Yin went from initial shock to sudden realization to finally eager anticipation. "Don't worry, young master. I'll definitely handle it well." Xiao Ran grunted. The sooner the better. Sun Yin didn't dare delay any longer. She flew to Zhang Corporation headquarters that day. "Hello, I'd like to see your chairman, Miss Cold." The receptionist discreetly looked her up and down. "Do you have an appointment?" "I know Miss Cold. Please just tell her I'm from Xiao Corporation." Saying this, Sun Yin unconsciously straightened her back. There wasn't anyone in the industry who didn't know about the missing secretary. Sure enough, the receptionist paused. "Please wait, I'll check with Assistant May." 5 minutes later, hearing the receptionist smilingly ask her to leave, Sun Yin stared in disbelief. How could this be? Generally, when a secretary represents the boss for a visit, even if just for appearance's sake, they should meet, right? How could Cold Yunchi completely disregard the usual protocol? She never imagined that she'd rush over excitedly, without even catching her breath, only to have Cold Yunchi pour a bucket of cold water over her head. Sun Yan's face turned purple with anger. She prepared to swallow her pride and continue waiting in the reception area. Just then, a group of people walked in hurriedly. "Double-check the venue for tomorrow's cooperation signing ceremony. Make sure there are no issues." Cooperation signing ceremony? Sun Yan's first reaction was to quickly take out her phone and check Zhang Corporation's updates. Sure enough, Zhang Corporation's official website had posted an announcement. Friday at 9 a.m., they would hold a signing ceremony for strategic cooperation with Dusher at the Hilton Hotel. She unconsciously licked her lips, her heart racing. At that moment, she only knew Cold Yunchi was planning to act in a movie. She had no idea he was planning to expand his company into the entertainment industry. Young Master has always hated when others touched his interests. She didn't believe Young Master wouldn't be upset when he learned the truth. This scheming woman, since she couldn't see Cold Yunchi here, she'd bet on seeing her at the hotel. Early the next morning, media reporters rushed to set up recording equipment at the venue, waiting for representatives from both sides to enter. Sun Yin obtained a press pass from Pioneer magazine and posed as a reporter, sitting in the interview area. Everywhere around her, praise for Cold Yunchi filled the air. She clenched her fists, biting her nails. Her eyes revealed crazy jealousy. She used to be just a clingy girl chasing after Young Master, and now she's suddenly transformed into the female CEO of a $100 billion group. "They're here!" someone suddenly shouted. Instantly, all the media reporters at the venue became excited. Camera shutters clicked incessantly, even more grand than a red carpet at a film festival. After the two were seated, Zhou Yiming began his speech. "From today on, we will be cooperating with Zhang Corporation, sharing resources. We believe that this strong alliance will bring new prospects to the industry. Please look forward to it." Cold Yunchi also nodded, smiling slightly. "Dusher is a veteran in the entertainment industry. Our deep cooperation between Zhang Corporation and Dusher, becoming strategic partners, will focus on creating new media entertainment, bringing you a new entertainment audiovisual experience." Her content was concise, her demeanor calm, her goals clear, her aura experienced. All the media personnel were shocked by Cold Yunchi's first formal appearance. "Is she not nervous at all?" A media representative raised their microphone to ask. "Could you please elaborate on the new media entertainment you just mentioned? What does it mainly refer to?" Cold Yunchi looked at the questioner from head to toe without immediately speaking. Instead, she lightly pressed a button with her right hand. Behind the next signing table, a huge LCD screen suddenly displayed a giant logo blending red and black. "Yes, our company's registered entertainment platform, 8times, will officially launch. It will first introduce all of Dusher's TV series and variety shows. In addition, features like gaming, live streaming, and VR will be gradually rolled out. As Cold Yunchi finished speaking, the LCD screen suddenly played a video clip. A stunningly handsome man's profile appeared briefly. Then the words "flowing light like brocade" finally froze on the screen. Cold Yunchi smiled gently at the camera. This is also a film we're putting great effort into producing. Flowing light like brocade. We'll have exclusive VR panoramic production on the 8times platform. We welcome all movie fans to visit our platform and experience all the scenes from the movie. We believe it will bring you an unprecedented audio-visual feast. As soon as Cold Yunchi finished speaking, the live stream's comments section exploded. Liang Luoling is a top celebrity in the industry. Because of this video clip and Cold Yunchi's words, it quickly went viral online in a short time, with search numbers exceeding 10 million at one point. Looking at the effect before them, all the media were dumbfounded. Why did it feel like all the media had been used for free? Who could have imagined that in her first public appearance, Cold Yunchi would create such big news? Seeing that she had finished, she and Zhou Yiming turned to leave. Everyone couldn't help but crowd around, ready to dig for more news. The PR department manager stopped the crowd. Everyone, the signing ceremony has officially ended. We have prepared small gifts for you. Please collect them at the check-in counter. As Cold Yunchi was about to leave the conference hall, Sun Yin finally couldn't wait any longer and called out, "Miss Cold! Miss Cold!" Amidst the media voices calling out Chairman Cold, Sun Yan's address stood out as particularly different. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Cold Yunchi happened to turn her head at that moment, facing Sun Yan's seductive and anxious face. Sun Yin unconsciously adjusted her hair and even smiled at the camera, using all her acting skills. She sincerely said to Cold Yunchi, "Miss Cold, Mr. Xiao knows you're going to act in a movie again and take over the company. He's worried you might be too busy, so he specially sent someone to help you. But due to a misunderstanding, you misinterpreted it. Mr. Xiao feels very upset about this and asked me to explain it clearly to you." Sun Yin noticed the surprised looks from the surrounding media, knowing they weren't clear about the specific situation. She deliberately spoke vaguely. "Isn't it just about using the media to attract attention? If you, Cold Yunchi, can do it, so can I." The camera flashes went off again. For a moment, Sun Yin felt extremely satisfied deep down. Cold Yunchi stood in place, glanced at Sun Yin, who had raised her chin, and finally couldn't help but sneer. She said coldly, "Are you teaching me how to do things?" At that moment, her arrogant and aloof gaze seemed to look down on an ant. Sun Yan's face turned red with anxiety. Cold Yunchi lazily said, "I'm too busy. I need your Shao Corporation to send people to help by stalking me. When caught, just lie down and admit it. Don't try to grab attention here. Do you really think my Cold family and Zhang family are just for show?" The whole venue was silent for a moment. Despite the sensation, Cold Yunchi spoke directly. "Who does your Shao Corporation think it is?" Sun Yin was frozen in place by Cold Yunchi's direct gaze, unable to utter a word in rebuttal. The media frantically pointed their microphones at Sun Yin, asking her to explain what she meant earlier. "Please explain. What do you mean by stalking and getting caught? What exactly was Shao Corporation planning to help with that required stalking?" Chairman Cold Yunchi left the scene directly under the escort of security personnel. "Xiao Ran, oh Xiao Ran, is this all the little tricks you have?" Cold Yunchi's operation directly caused an internet sensation. The level of popularity was so high that it made people suspect she had bought out all the trending topics and planted them like vegetables. Meanwhile, Sun Yin was utterly defeated, fleeing in panic, awkwardly avoiding the pursuing reporters and media. At this moment, her phone suddenly rang. Sun Yan's whole body shook like a sieve. She pressed the answer button, and just as she called out "Third Young Master," she was immediately cut off by the other party. "Has your brain been eaten by dogs? Or do you simply not have one?" Xiao Ran hadn't expected that sending her to explain would make things even worse. He had never been so embarrassed before. Sun Yin shook her head, laughing bitterly. Xiao Ran patiently advised, "Don't come to the company anymore. You're fired. Keep your mouth shut about everything that happened today. If you say one more word and affect the company's reputation, you know the consequences." Suddenly, the phone went silent. Sun Yin was shocked in disbelief. So this meant she was to disappear from the company? How could this be? She was still preparing to take over the secretary's position. Why had she suddenly lost her job? She had worked so hard to get close to Xiaoran. She absolutely couldn't be abandoned like this. Suddenly, her vision blurred, the world spinning. Sun Yin collapsed to the ground with a thud, fainting. A passerby called 120 and sent Sun Yin to the hospital. Xiao Yuma leaned against a car on the roadside, watching everything with cold eyes. He called Luo Jin. Go check who was trapped at Cold Yunxi's signing ceremony this morning. After receiving the call, he saw Cold Yunxi coming out. Xiao Yuma straightened up in a good mood. He opened the car door, making an inviting gesture. Yunke, Eve Bukta Cruz. How about we celebrate your success by enjoying the scenery and dining on the ship tonight? Cold Yunxi nodded in agreement. I'd be honored. In the evening, as the neon lights came on, the all-white cruise ship docked by the river. The two strolled leisurely up the steps. Not paying attention, Cold Yunxi happened to step on the edge of a step. Fortunately, Xiao Yuma quickly steadied her with his hand. After regaining balance, Xiao Yuma chuckled softly. He extended his arm. Hold on to my arm. Cold Yunxi naturally responded with a sound of agreement. The cruise ship slowly set off. Someone brought over the meals. Cold Yunxi ate with enthusiasm from start to finish. Xiao Yuma watched her with a smile. Have you been so busy lately that you haven't had a proper meal? Cold Yunxi nodded helplessly. The company has been too comfortable for too long. Fortunately, this week, everyone has gradually adapted to the fast-paced work. I should be able to relax a bit more later. Xiao Yuma looked at her deeply. Your sudden success today is enough to show your business talent. Why didn't you think about studying business before and chose art instead? Cold Yunxi's hand holding the cutlery paused slightly. That was because Yuan Shun's college entrance exam scores weren't good enough for business school. She had to lower her expectations to get into Imperial Capital University. But how could she say that? Cold Yunxi sighed. I thought art was the most mysterious. I just randomly chose it for fun. Xiao Yuma couldn't help but laugh. Another case of youthful ignorance. Cold Yunxi found this reference very clever. The last time youthful ignorance was mentioned was when he self-deprecatingly talked about being blind enough to fall for a scumbag. Couldn't they move past this joke? Cold Yunxi looked at Xiao Yuma with resignation, very certain of one thing. His words today had hidden meanings. Sun Yin wanted to use Cold Yunxi as a stepping stone, but was slapped in the face instead. What's worse, after being sent to the hospital due to fainting from anger, she was found to be pregnant, already 2 months along. Xiao Yuma raised his eyebrows, his gaze quietly falling on Cold Yunxi. He unexpectedly told her this shocking news. Cold Yunxi looked at him with shock in her eyes. Not because she suddenly learned about Sun Yan's pregnancy, but because people say a dragon can't suppress a local snake. Even in Shanghai, how was his information still so smooth? As a half-local herself, she hadn't received any news at all. Aren't you going to ask whose child it is? Xiao Yuma was quite surprised by her reaction. Is there any need to ask? Of course it's Xiao Rance, Cold Yunxi said amusingly. I've already experienced catching them in the act. What else is there to be curious about? But Xiao Ran probably won't want this child. Cold Yunxi took a sip of red wine and smiled lightly. Xiao Ran is a person who prioritizes benefits above all. Old Master Xiao is still trying to find ways to match me with him. He definitely won't want an illegitimate child at this critical moment. The eldest son of a wealthy family isn't something that can be casually born. Xiao Yuma couldn't help but narrow his eyes. When Cold Yunxi talked about Xiao Ran, although her tone was cold and her expression icy, she seemed particularly familiar with Xiao Ran's way of doing things. What exactly was the grudge between her and Xiao Ran? It was only then that Cold Yunxi noticed the atmosphere was slightly off. What's wrong? She looked up at him. Xiao Yuma personally poured her another glass of wine. His gaze fell on Cold Yunxi. Although there were still many uncertain secrets about her, these two things clearly pleased him. This afternoon, Xiao Corporation issued an announcement to dismiss Sun Yin. Cold Yunxi's eyes flashed with disdain. She sneered, coward. How shameless to find a scapegoat in such an ugly manner. But this is perfect. It's an opportunity to make him go viral online again. Cold Yunxi rested her chin on one hand, suddenly smiling. Labor laws stipulate that employers cannot terminate the labor contract of female employees during pregnancy. What do you think? Xiao Yuma suddenly felt particularly joyful. She really showed no mercy toward Xiao Ran. Luo Jin has already leaked the news to several well-known media outlets, he said, gently raising his glass to clink with hers in midair. Tonight's hot search will have new content. Cold Yunqi was stunned for a moment. Such quick action. But she remembered from her previous life that Xiao Yuma and Xiao Ran had always kept their distance. Why did it seem like he really disliked Xiao Ran now? Are you free tomorrow? Let's go to the shooting range and have some fun, Xiao Yuma suddenly said while Cold Yunqi was still pondering. Cold Yunqi immediately became interested. With real guns and bullets? Of course. Meanwhile, at Xiao Corporation, Xiao Ran was frantically smashing things. Investigate for me. Find out who leaked the information to these media outlets. Xiao Ran couldn't believe that Sun Yin got pregnant despite him taking precautions every time. The key was that he found out later than the media. Now it was too late to cover it up. The employees trembled in fear. Mr. Xiao, the news came from Shanghai. Our influence doesn't reach there, so it's difficult to investigate. The PR department suggests not dismissing Sun Yin for now and observing the situation to avoid confirming your irresponsible image to the public. Just then, an assistant rushed in panicking. Mr. Xiao, it's bad. Our stock price has dropped. Xiao Ran slammed his fist on the table, his face turning black. Book me a flight. I'm going to Shanghai immediately. The next day, Xiao Yuma took Cold Yunqi to the shooting range owned by the Chao family. Chao Chen led the two inside and began introducing the firearms. Looking at the various gun types, Cold Yunqi was pleasantly surprised. She didn't expect that Xiao Yuma had reserved all original factory guns. She couldn't help but whistle inwardly. This was impressive. Seeing her hesitating, Xiao Yuma asked if she had any particular preference. Cold Yunqi's gaze finally locked onto the Browning high-power handgun. This one, Xiao Yuma smiled, as if he had anticipated it. Indeed, old Master Cold must have let you play with real guns before. The shooting accuracy of this gun is almost unmatched by other handguns. Chao Chen approached with bright eyes. You have a good eye. Let me teach you. No need. I'll teach her myself, Xiao Yuma said coldly, giving Chao Chen a dangerous look. Gao Chen choke set li gu xing. Showing off just to impress a girl? I like to see how good you really are. After Xiao Yuma personally helped her put on protective gear like goggles and earmuffs, he leaned close to her ear and chuckled, saying, You're so cute. Cold Yunqi turned her head in confusion. I can't hear you on the bridge. What did you just say? Xiao Yuma smiled and shook his head. Nothing. He turned around and put on his own protective gear. The next second, he pulled Cold Yunqi against his chest. A standard hands-on teaching posture was displayed in front of everyone. Cold Yunqi was stunned. She didn't expect this posture. Her heart couldn't help but beat rapidly. She wanted to say that she just hadn't shot in a long time. Her hands were a bit rusty, but she wasn't unfamiliar with shooting. However, through the earphones, Xiao Yuma's muffled voice came through. Don't get distracted. Focus on your posture. Xiao Yuma's breath fell on her ear, feeling a bit hot and ticklish. Cold Yunqi could only force herself to focus on looking ahead. Guided by Xiao Yuma, she assumed the most standard shooting posture. Calming her mind, she emptied her thoughts. The next second, her finger pulled the trigger. A sudden bang. The bullet instantly ejected from the magazine. She fired her first shot. That evening, Chao Chen's eyes lit up. He almost excitedly cursed at the result. For someone unfamiliar with real firearms, being able to shoot without dropping the gun on the first try was already very good. Zhang Yunqi tilted her head, examining the gun in her hand. She felt something slightly off in her brain. She handed the gun to Xiao Yuma. She couldn't pinpoint the exact reason, but when she just fired, she followed the body memory of her original self to shoot, but the accuracy was slightly different from what she had calculated. Xiao Yuma took it. He raised the Browning and fired 3 consecutive shots at the bullseye, as if without even aiming. But the electronic screen beside showed that each shot was around 9.5 rings. Everyone around suddenly fell silent, watching Xiao Yuma skillfully adjust the gun, muttering in their hearts about how many live rounds one must shoot to reach this level. Soon he walked back to the firing line, raised his hand, and fired. This time just one shot, directly 10 rings. The special effects sound for a 10-ring critical hit brought the stunned audience back to their senses. Holy shit, it's a miracle. This guy doesn't seem to need to aim at the bullseye at all from start to finish. The onlookers couldn't help but whisper among themselves. Xiao Yuma, however, with a face of indifference, handed the gun back to Cold Yunqi. Your turn. Cold Yunqi was stunned for a moment. She gripped the gun with both hands, her gaze fixed straight ahead. Clean and swift, she aimed and fired. Bang, bang, bang. 3 gunshots. Chao Chun, who was just laughing about the miracle, suddenly bulged his eyes. This girl needs no code. Damn, this is professional level skill, isn't it? Cold Yunqi finished shooting the bullets and took off her earphones. Xiao Yuma thought she had lost interest in this handgun and asked if she wanted to try something else. Just then, a burst suddenly exploded in the distant sky. Cold Yunqi looked over in surprise, staring at the orange powder in the sky, and couldn't help but ask, "What's that over there?" Chao Chen smiled and explained, "That's the clay pigeon shooting area. We use various color clay discs here. Once hit, they shatter in the air, immediately showing whether you've hit the target. It's very visually appealing." Cold Yunqi found this interesting. She smiled and glanced at Xiao Yuma. "Let's go take a look." Seeing her eager to try, Xiao Yuma curled his lips and nodded. They walked directly towards the clay pigeon shooting area. The man who was shooting saw Chao Chen bringing people over and immediately stopped. Given his understanding of Chao Chen's background, being able to personally escort someone meant this person was of great importance. "Manager Gao, please introduce us." Chao Chen hadn't figured out the background of the two, so he could only vaguely say, "This is Mr. Chiao. It's his first time at our shooting range today. This lady is his friend. She hasn't played with guns much before, but her gun feel is excellent." As soon as Chao Chen finished speaking, a woman with a hot figure walked up. "It's perfect timing. I've been the only woman in the shooting area until now. Having a new companion will make it more fun to play." As she spoke, she enthusiastically invited Xiao Yuma. "Mr. Xiao, why don't you bring your female companion, and we can play together?" With his experience, he could tell at a glance that Xiao Yuma was someone important. If he could connect with him, he wouldn't have to worry about future business performance. Jing Hao also enthusiastically spoke up. "That's right, Mr. Xiao. Please do us the honor of joining the relay race." Xiao Yuma seemed completely unaware of the information these people were actively conveying. Instead, he turned his head to look at Cold Yunqi. "Do you want to play?" The woman beside him immediately froze. She bit her lip, a flash of shame and anger crossing her face. She couldn't help but turn back to glare at Cold Yunqi. The next second, she put on a smile again and said sarcastically, "Clay pigeon shooting is indeed a bit difficult for beginners. Miss Cold can cheer for us from the sidelines." Cold Yunqi looked at her obvious hostility, narrowing her eyes indifferently. She sneered, "It's fine. I'm very interested." The gold-digging woman had intended to get close to Xiao Yuma, but after being rejected, she reluctantly turned her attacks towards Cold Yunqi. "Miss Cold, if you need it, just say the word. I'm more than capable of teaching beginners." Jing Hao also came forward to get familiar, wanting to take the opportunity to give these two laypeople some pointers and thereby get closer to them. Cold Yunqi narrowed her eyes, her lips curling into a slight smile. This person wanted to teach Xiao Yuma? Xiao Yuma coldly glanced at Jing Hao and said flatly, "No need. I'll teach her." The two walked to the side to select firearms. The gold-digging woman angrily huffed, "Amateurs teaching amateurs. They sure have a big attitude." Xiao Yuma, while testing and adjusting the gun, said to Cold Yunqi, "Don't put. From the moment the clay pigeon is launched to when it lands, it's at most 4 to 5 seconds. So the best shooting time is when it's 15 to 20 meters away." As he spoke, he fired and hit a blue clay pigeon. Cold Yunqi also raised her gun and quickly hit another blue clay pigeon. Sheng Kursen pursed her lips, her previously angry expression suddenly changing. Even Jing Hao's expression changed. Hitting the target on the first shot? Were these two really amateurs? It must have been luck. Cold Yunqi turned her head. "Didn't you say we were going to have a relay race?" Jing Hao was stunned, unconsciously wiping the smile off his face. One male and one female as partners in the relay. 75 targets. Whichever team hits more targets wins. Xiao Yuma nodded. "So, you go first then." Jing Hao told Sheng Kursen to concentrate and focus. He hadn't planned to say much, but the skilled Xiao Yuma and Cold Yunqi had just displayed unconsciously ignited his competitive spirit. Only the strong would get their attention. The weak were always ignored. He dared to assert that this couple's background was definitely extraordinary. This relay race was a rare opportunity to establish a connection. Jing Hao took the lead, raising his gun and firing. His movements were fluid, almost without pause. After all 75 clay pigeons were launched, the technician on the side announced the result, 61 hits. The participants couldn't help but applaud. This score was excellent. Cold Yunqi lightly picked up the gun, smiled slightly at Xiao Yuma. It's our turn now. Xiao Yuma looked at her with satisfaction. You take the lead. He was wearing simple casual clothes, but the moment he raised the gun, a sharp aura instantly condensed around him. His unwavering gaze calmly aimed at the target, like a monarch surveying his domain. Bang, bang, bang. He pulled the trigger, firing multiple shots in quick succession. 3 puffs of powder exploded rapidly in the air. Although everyone was mentally prepared for his shooting skills, the leap from single shots to multiple hits was crossing a whole level. His personal talent seemed to have been unlocked a bit too dramatically. Did he not need any training? Before people could marvel, they saw Xiao Yuma smoothly take over almost the instant he stopped firing. Meanwhile, Cold Yunqi leisurely began loading her gun on the side. The clay pigeons in the sky seemed to have a scope on them in his eyes. He didn't even need to aim before firing and hitting. It was so effortless it was almost despair-inducing. The gunshots never stopped, the transitions seamless. When it ended and the staff announced the score, the whole venue fell silent, without even cheers or exclamations. Out of 75 clay pigeons, they hit 71, directly breaking the range record. After the initial shock, Jinghao was the first to walk up to Xiao Yuma and Cold Yunqi. He slowly extended his hand. I admit defeat wholeheartedly. The gap is so obvious. It can't be explained by luck at all. Cold Yunqi slightly raised an eyebrow. Polite, but not overly friendly. Winning or losing isn't the point. Although these two had a high opinion of themselves and had pride in their eyes, they admitted defeat quickly and sincerely. They still had some grace. Cold Yunqi's impression of them improved slightly. At this moment, someone recognized Cold Yunqi's identity and excitedly called out, "The new CEO of Zhang Corporation. I didn't expect to meet you here. It's an honor." Hearing this, Jing Hao and Sheng Kursen became excited. So it's the heiress of the $100 billion fortune. I wonder if Miss Cold is interested in investing. Cold Yunqi glanced at him and smiled casually. Is your company a private equity fund or an investment company? Jing Hao paused for a moment. Unless one was immersed in the financial world, the differences between private equity funds and investment companies were like gibberish to most people. He didn't expect Miss Cold to ask such a professional question right off the bat. Jing Hao didn't dare to be careless and straightened his face. Private equity fund. Cold Yunqi nodded in understanding and asked just one question. What's your company's average return rate over the past 3 years? Xiao Yuma, standing behind her, flashed a knowing smile. The little fox finally stopped playing dumb. 20%. Our company's return rate has been steadily increasing over the past 3 years. Jing Hao answered seriously after a moment of surprise. Miss Cold, why don't you come to our company for an inspection? Cold Yunqi just smiled and shook her head. Mr. Jing, don't you think that if you want me as a client, you should at least provide a detailed profit report and your company's performance analysis? Jing Hao's expression brightened. He quickly replied, I was too hasty. Next Monday, I'll bring the company's detailed materials for your review. It doesn't matter if you invest or not. Just take a look at our company's situation first. You can contact me anytime if you need anything. Suddenly, Xiao Yuma placed a sun hat on Cold Yunqi's head. The sun is quite strong today. Your face is getting a bit red. While adjusting the brim of the hat, she couldn't help but chuckle softly, rubbing Cold Yunqi's head. Her low, husky voice and feminine laugh made Cold Yunqi freeze for a moment. Seeing this, Jing Hao and Sheng Kursen tactfully walked away. Cold Yunqi awkwardly rubbed her sore shoulders, changing the subject. You're in such good shape. Do you exercise regularly? 4 long runs a week, combined with other exercises. Do you want to work out with me? Cold Yunqi tilted her head slightly. What? It's not easy to procrastinate when exercising together. Xiao Yuma smiled, looking at her deeply. Cold Yunqi seemed oblivious as she nodded happily. Sure. Just then, her phone suddenly rang. It was her assistant. Chairman Zhang, Mr. Xiao suddenly contacted me, wanting to visit you at the company on Monday. I wonder if you agree. Cold Yunqi smiled slightly. Tell him to come at 9 a.m. Let's see how Xiao Ran plans to act out this play. Xiao Ran slammed a heavy fist on the office door, shouting angrily at Cold Yunqi. He, the mighty ruler of Xiao Corporation, the uncrowned king of the business world, had to wait 2 days in line just to see Cold Yunqi. Cold Yunqi calmly looked up at him. It's been a while, Chairman Xiao. You seem very busy, Chairman Cold. Xiao Ran sneered, staring at her intensely from half a meter away. Cold Yunqi didn't avoid his gaze at all. resting her chin on her hand and nodding slightly. Indeed, quite busy. Ever since I found out your secretary was following me, I felt this meeting today could have been avoided. Xiao Ran's aggressive demeanor suddenly froze. It seemed Old Man Cold had already investigated the matter and told her. The words he had been holding back stuck in his throat, making his expression even more unsightly. Moreover, I think with Chairman Zhao's narrow-mindedness, it's better if we don't meet alone in the future. Cold Yunqi leaned back casually, smiling lightly, but trampling on Xiao Ran's face. After all, that seductive woman by your side has already used the media twice to spread rumors about me. Xiao Ran slammed both hands on the desk, taking a deep breath to suppress his irritation. Cold Yunqi, I came here in person to explain. What kind of attitude is this? Cold Yunqi shrugged. All right, explanation received. Now you can get lost. Cold Yunqi. Xiao Ran's forehead tensed slightly. He couldn't help but curse inwardly. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't openly break with the Cold family, he wouldn't endure such humiliation. He was about to speak again when the finger pointing at Cold Yunqi suddenly felt a sharp pain. Xiao Ran let out a scream of agony. He turned his head, the anger on his face suddenly frozen. Then his gaze met a pair of extremely cold eyes. What are you doing, Mr. Xiao? Xiao Ran was furious inside, but on the surface, he maintained the proper etiquette. Answering Xiao Yuma's question, he said, "It's not like that, Miss Xiao. I had a misunderstanding with Miss Cold, so I came to explain." Xiao Yuma released her hand and turned her gaze to Cold Yunqi, smiling leisurely. "Are you feeling better?" Zhang Yunqi touched her own shoulder. "I was bedridden for a day. My shoulder blade still hurts a bit, but it's much better today than yesterday." Xiao Yuma walked closer to her. "You don't exercise enough usually. Suddenly doing too much causes this. Starting this week, you'll exercise with me." "Okay." The two of them were so engrossed in their conversation, naturally massaging Cold Yunqi's shoulders in front of Xiao Ran. Cold Yunqi was in the wrong, so she couldn't say much. Xiao Yuma's status was also evident. Unless Xiao Ran had lost his mind, he wouldn't dare interrupt their conversation. Suddenly, Xiao Ran realized he had become the odd one out in the room. He had come in furious, but now he couldn't express even the slightest dissatisfaction. Noticing Xiao Ran still hadn't left, Cold Yunqi looked at him puzzled. "Mr. Xiao, aren't you leaving? Or do you want to stay for dinner?" The irritation Xiao Ran had suppressed for so long nearly erupted again in that second. His features almost distorted with anger as he turned and stormed out. The heavy office door slammed shut with a bang. Xiao Yuma, sitting on the sofa, looked at him with amusement. In the business world, Xiao Ran was known for his calm and cold demeanor. Who would have thought he'd lose his composure so quickly here? "Do you need me to step in and resolve this?" Cold Yunqi chuckled lightly. "I'm not done playing yet." Little Yuma gently tapped her nose, smiling indulgently. "All right, you mischievous little fox." Cold Yunqi froze for a moment before quickly regaining her composure. "By the way, is Sunyu still in the hospital?" Little Yuma nodded. "She's still there for pregnancy care. She's not completely stupid. Knowing she might not be able to keep the baby, she's secretly cooperating with several media outlets. As long as the media keeps focusing on her news, Xiao Ran won't be able to force her to terminate the pregnancy at this time. She's quite bold. Isn't she afraid Xiao Ran will deal with those media outlets and then settle scores with her later?" Cold Yunqi raised an eyebrow amusedly. "That's why Luo Jin carefully selected media with complex backgrounds when choosing outlets earlier. Xiao Ran cares about his image. If he makes a big fuss now, he'll lose more." Xiao Yumo replied with a smile. Cold Yunqi couldn't help but sigh. "I could have had such an excellent assistant too." The tea Xiao Yuma was drinking nearly choked her. After all, it was her who had personally ruined that possibility. Seeing her awkward silence, Cold Yunqi gave her an out. "Well, there's still the final round of interviews tomorrow. I'll have to choose someone satisfactory." Xiao Yuma suddenly sat up straight. "Do you need me to help you screen candidates?" The next day in the Zhang Corporation's final interview conference room, Xiao Yuma sat next to Cold Yunqi with a solemn expression. She mercilessly eliminated candidates one by one from the interview resumes in her hand. Everyone was stunned, their expressions a bit confused. Those who had made it to this round had all proven their expertise, abilities, and intelligence through multiple challenges. What kind of person could possibly meet this woman's standards? Cold Yunqi looked at her serious profile, unable to suppress a secret smile. At this rate, the only choice would be Miss Xiao herself. When it came to the last interviewee, this person's expression remained extremely calm throughout. He answered questions without hesitation, demonstrating not only work ethics and professional conduct, but also management awareness and the ability to handle various matters independently. Cold Yunqi turned to ask Xiao Yuma, "This Zhang, he is not bad. What do you think?" Xiao Yuma frowned and reluctantly grunted in agreement. She knew this person was most suitable for Cold Yunqi, but why did it have to be a man? She put down the documents. Looking at Zhang He with a stern face, she asked, "Are you married?" Cold Mingqi beside her looked embarrassed. What kind of question was that? Zhang He was only stunned for a moment before quickly responding, "I am already married. The reason I chose a local job is that I hope to be able to go home every day to be with my wife and child." Hearing the answer she wanted, Xiao Yuma finally showed a slight smile. "Very good. Your abilities are excellent. You'll make a good assistant. HR will send you a formal offer later." Cold Yunqi smiled slyly beside him, truly understanding Xiao Yuma's intention. He rested his chin on his hand, tilting his head teasingly. "It seems Miss Xiao's mood has improved now. Were you jealous just now?" Ling Yunqi cupped her chin with both hands, looking at Xiao Yuma playfully. "Were you jealous?" Xiao Yuma coughed nervously, changing the subject. HR should have finished the paperwork by now. Cold Yunqi didn't say anything, just staring at him intently. Xiao Yuma helplessly tapped Cold Yunqi's forehead lightly, smiling indulgently. "Little fox, you're too obvious trying to hold back your laughter." Cold Lingqi pressed the corners of her mouth with 2 fingers. "I'm not laughing. I'm really crying." Xiao Yuma held her hand with his large one, looking at her with sincere eyes. "You're right, I don't want other men around you." The sudden seriousness made the mischievous Cold Lingqi freeze in place. A blush slowly crept up her cheeks, making her heart flutter. The sudden ringing of a phone broke the awkward atmosphere. Cold Mingqi turned away in panic, quickly covering her flushed cheeks. Xiao Yuma looked at her helplessly and sighed. He turned to answer Wang Qian's call, his temple throbbing. "You'd better have a good reason." The excited voice on the other end of the phone didn't notice his tone and immediately rose. "Bro, there's an F1 city race this weekend. Want to go watch it live?" Xiao Yuma turned to ask Cold Yunji, who nodded repeatedly. At the F1 city race venue that weekend, they had just taken their seats. Zhou Yun immediately grabbed Cold Yunxi and started gossiping. "Did you hear? That son, Yin, slipped in the hospital and had a miscarriage. And that Xiao Ran is even more ridiculous. Although he managed to prevent the company's shares from falling, he offended all the old men in his family. I guess they won't look at him favorably from now on. Yunxi, you need to be careful. I'm afraid they might come after you next." Seeing Zhou Yun's worried expression, Cold Yunxi smiled and patted her hand reassuringly. "Don't worry, I'll be on guard. He wouldn't let these people ruin his life again. He needed to seize the time to take back what was his." As Cold Yunji's thoughts were racing, suddenly, on the huge electronic LCD screen, the image of Cold Yunji and Xiao Yuma standing side by side appeared. The whole venue suddenly erupted in a clamor, with everyone shouting in unison, "Kiss! Quiche!" The crowd's reaction was unprecedentedly unanimous. So the question was, what should they do? This camera shot came completely unexpectedly. The voices grew louder and louder, almost creating a wave of sound in the venue. Cold Yunchi was too embarrassed to look directly. At this moment, Xiao Yuma suddenly smiled at her. "Don't worry, leave it to me." Amidst the crazy cheers from the crowd, Xiao Yuma put his arm around Cold Yunchi and slowly leaned in. Cold Yunchi's back suddenly tensed, her heart racing. In that instant, Xiao Yuma gently lifted her chin. His gentle voice softly uttered 2 words, "Miss Cold." "I'm sorry," he said, his handsome face drawing near. He gently pressed a kiss on Cold Ningqi's fingertip at the corner of her lips. The entire venue fell silent for a moment, then erupted in wild cheers. Zhou Yun felt like pinching herself, instantly turning into a screaming machine. I'm shipping it." Cold Yunchi's heart was racing, her mind blank as she stared at the man in front of her, unable to come back to her senses. Little Yuma, seeing her dazed expression, couldn't help but laugh. "Are you all right?" Cold Yunchi came back to her senses and quickly nodded, covering her racing heart. She couldn't help but think, how could there be someone in this world who could smile so charmingly? The impact was off the charts. Just then, a roar sounded from the racetrack. One by one, racing cars appeared on the track, making their official debut. Cold Yunchi quickly shifted her gaze to the excited Wang Qian beside her. "Wang Qian, who do you think will win this race?" It has to be my idol, Xiaoze. Wang Qian blurted out. He's the first driver to win 3 consecutive station championships. I must witness him take the 4th crown with my own eyes. The spectators in the stands all stood up, their eyes excitedly following the race cars on the track. The next moment, the tall and handsome race car driver appeared on the screen. The entire audience went completely wild, waving their support sticks and shouting his English name loudly. Only Cold Ning's gaze remained calm. Unlike the rest of the audience who were totally caught up in the frenzy, his look could even be described as scrutinizing. Beside him, Qiao Yuma's deep eyes quietly fell on Cold Yunqi. He could sense that Cold Yunqi definitely knew that man.